Hey everyone, tonight we are slipping back through the warm, hazy curtain of time, not to visit a king or a conqueror, but to meet a much smaller furrier and far more discerning ruler. We're exploring the ancient world of the Egyptian cat. Imagine yourself there now, the sun beating down on the banks of a timeless river, the air thick with the smell of wet earth and baking bread. You see a shadow moving with impossible grace along a mud brick wall, a silent hunter with eyes that seem to hold the secrets of the desert. This isn't just a story about pets. It's about God's guardians and the gradual cautious truce between two very different species. And let's be honest, if you were suddenly dropped into the authentic ancient world with its strange diseases, questionable hygiene, and total lack of Wi-Fi, you probably won't survive this. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Feel free to post your city and what time where you are. For those of you listening along, a follow or a like on your platform of choice is always deeply appreciated and helps us find more people who enjoy these quiet journeys. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your world is one of rhythm dictated by the great river, the Nile. It swells, it recedes, and in its wake, it leaves behind a ribbon of miraculous black soil. This is the land that feeds you, that feeds everyone you know. You are one of the first true farmers, part of a generation that has learned to coax life from this fertile strip, creating a surplus that frees you from the constant wandering of your ancestors. Your village is a collection of simple square houses made from bricks of Nile mud and straw baked hard under a relentless sun. Life is good, but it is also fragile. And one of the greatest threats to your existence, to the very foundation of this budding civilization, is tiny. It's the rustle in the dark, the squeak in the grain silo, the constant nibbling attrition from mice and rats. Every grain of wheat, every stalk of barley you harvest is a victory against uncertainty. You pack it tightly into granary structures of mud and plaster that are the difference between a comfortable winter and a season of starvation. But the rodents are relentless. They are a tide of tiny teeth, spoiling, consuming, and spreading disease. You try everything. You seal the granaries as best you can. You set clumsy traps. You even encourage non-venomous snakes to take up residence. A solution that comes with its own set of, well, slithery complications. It's a constant losing battle. And as you lie on your sleeping mat at night, you can hear them, a faint scrabbling sound that is the anthem of anxiety. Then you start to notice something new at the edge of the village. A flicker of movement in the twilight, sleeker and more deliberate than a jackal. It's a cat, but you don't call it that, not yet. There isn't really a word for a creature that is neither fully wild nor truly part of your world. This is the ancestor of all our domestic cats, a subspecies known as the African wildcat, Felis sylvestris libica. It's a creature of beautiful paradoxes, lithe yet powerful, sandy-coated, with faint tabby stripes that let it melt into the reeds and rocks. Its legs are a little longer, its ears a little larger than the cats you might see napping on a windowsill today, all the better for spotting and hearing prey in the open scrubland. Unlike its fiercely solitary European cousins, this African variant has a slightly more flexible social life. It's not exactly a party animal, more of an introvert who doesn't mind being in the same room as others, as long as nobody makes direct eye contact. And this subtle difference in temperament is the key to everything that comes next. You see it at a distance at first, a ghost with green gold eyes watching the village with an unnerving stillness. It's drawn in not by you, but by the buffet you've unintentionally created. Your rodent problem is its golden opportunity. One evening, crouched by your home, you see it happen. A mouse darts from the shadow of a clay pot, and from another shadow, a streak of fluid motion intercepts it. There is no sound, no struggle, just a silent, efficient execution. The cat pauses for a moment, the unfortunate mouse dangling from its jaws, and it looks right at you. There's no malice in its gaze, no friendship either. It is pure calculating neutrality. It has what it came for, and it vanishes back into the dusk. A thought dawns on you as slowly and as surely as the morning sun. This creature, this hunter, it could be an ally. This is where the great negotiation begins. It's not a conscious process, not a meeting with a formal agenda. It's a slow, hesitant dance of mutual benefit, played out over years, over generations. You start leaving a bowl of water near the granary. then maybe a few scraps from the fish you caught in the river. Not too close. You don't want to spook it. You just want it to know that this place, your home, is a reliable source of both prey and the occasional bonus treat. Think of it as the world's first loyalty program paid in protein. The cat, for its part, begins to linger. It learns the rhythms of your village. It understands that the bipedal giants who make so much noise are not a threat, but are instead the landlords of this magnificent mouse-filled establishment. Historians still argue whether this gradual taming, this slow erosion of wildness, was something that happened only in Egypt, or if similar arrangements were being made in other early agricultural centers across the Near East. There's evidence from a grave in Cyprus, thousands of years older than the pyramids, where a human was buried with a cat, suggesting the bond is far more ancient than we once thought. But here along the Nile, something unique happens. Here the relationship doesn't just stop at mutual convenience. You start to see them more and more. A female appears with kittens, tiny clumsy copies of her own lethal grace. She chooses to raise them in the sheltered space behind a woodpile within the protective aura of your settlement. The kittens grow up hearing human voices, smelling human cooking fires. The fear their mother possessed is diluted in them. They are born into a world where humans are just a part of the landscape. And you watching them play batting at a stray piece of twine with ferocious intensity, you feel something shift inside you. It's the first flicker of affection. This isn't just a walking pest control device anymore. It's a creature of inherent beauty and amusing character. You're beginning to realize a neighbor. A very, very good neighbor who takes care of the local riffraff and only asks for a little respect and the occasional fish head in return. This is the beginning of it all. Not the worship, not the mummies, not the golden statues. Just this quiet, unwritten agreement in the dust between a farmer and a wild hunter, realizing they might just be better off together. That quiet, unwritten agreement you've stumbled into begins to ripple outwards from your household to the whole village and then beyond. It's a silent revolution spreading not by decree but by simple, undeniable logic. Where the cats are, the grain is safe. Where the grain is safe, the people are secure. This simple equation, born from your own tired frustration with scurrying thieves in the night, is about to become a foundational pillar of your entire civilization. The scale of everything is about to change because the personal granary behind your mud brick house is a puddle compared to the ocean of grain that the state is beginning to control. Your world is growing. The villages are knitting themselves together into a larger entity, a kingdom ruled by a divine king, a pharaoh, who is the living embodiment of the God's will on earth. In the lifeblood of this kingdom, the currency that builds everything is grain. It is more valuable than gold, more powerful than any army. The massive stone tombs and temples that will one day stun the world are not built with money. They are built with bread and beer, the wages paid to the tens of thousands of workers who quarry the stone and haul the great blocks into place. The soldiers who guard the borders, the scribes who record the king's glory, the priests who serve the gods, they are all paid from the colossal state-run granaries. Imagine standing before one. It's not a simple silo. It's a vast complex, a sprawling city of storage. Domed bins of whitewashed plaster stand in perfect rows, each capable of holding tons of wheat and barley. They look like giant, smooth beehives shimmering under the sun. The air is thick with the dry, dusty, almost sweet smell of stored wealth. You see scribes everywhere, their reed pens flying across sheets of papyrus. They are the accountants of this empire, meticulously recording every bushel of grain that comes in as taxes and every ration that goes out. They note the harvest from every district, calculating yields, tracking surpluses, and planning for the lean years that will inevitably follow the fat ones. The entire complex machinery of the Egyptian state, its bureaucracy, its military, its monumental construction projects, is balanced on the contents of these domes. And every single one of those domes is a paradise for a mouse. It's an all-you-can-eat 24-hour buffet with endless places to hide and raise a family. The threat you faced in your small home is magnified here 1,000,000 times over. An infestation in a state granary isn't just an annoyance. It's a threat to national security. It's a loss of tax revenue. It's a potential famine. It's a crack in the foundations of the pharaoh's power. You can see the evidence of the constant war against them. Archaeologists, centuries from now, will find storage jars with tiny desperate gnaw marks around the clay stoppers. They'll identify the bones of the prime culprit, the Nile rat, a particularly prolific pest that thrived along the fertile banks. This is where your neighborhood watch program goes national. The cats, those silent hunters you first welcomed with a cautious offering of fish scraps, are now the unofficial guardians of the Egyptian economy. They are given free rein of these vast vital complexes. You see them everywhere, and their presence is a profound comfort. You see one perched atop a grain dome, silhouetted against the blue sky, surveying its domain with regal indifference. It's not actively hunting, it's just being there. And its scent alone is a powerful deterrent. You see another emerge from the cool, dark doorway of a storehouse, blinking slowly in the bright sun, a successful hunter's swagger in its walk. The scribes barely look up. The guards nod in approval. The cat is supposed to be there. It's part of the system. There are no memos from a high official declaring a new feline initiative. There are no training programs or job descriptions. It's a perfect self-regulating system. The state provides the ultimate hunting ground, and the cats provide the ultimate security service. Their payment is an endless supply of prey in the safety of the storehouses. It's the best deal they're ever going to get, and frankly, it's a better deal than most of the humans are getting. They don't have to quarry stones or pay taxes. They just have to be themselves. One of the quiet little jokes you share with the other workers is that the cats are the only ones here who are truly their own masters, working for the pure joy of the hunt. Archaeologists still debate the exact point at which this employment became formalized, whether there were ever official state decrees about the protection and encouragement of cats in state facilities, or if it simply remained a purely informal grassroots alliance for centuries. But the evidence is overwhelming that their role was understood and valued at the highest levels. This isn't just about protecting food, it's about protecting order, what your people call ma'at, the divine harmony of the universe. Rodents represent chaos, the gnawing, scrambling forces of entropy that seek to undermine stability. The cat, in its silent, efficient opposition, becomes a living symbol of ma'at. It is a small, furry bastion of cosmic order. You watch as a scribe, after finishing a long inventory, reaches down to scratch the ears of a tabby that has been sleeping at his feet. The cat leans into the touch for a moment, a low rumble of a purr vibrating through the dusty air, before it stands, stretches with an elegant back-arching grace, and pads off towards the shadows back on duty. In that small, simple interaction, you see the next stage of the journey beginning. The relationship is still fundamentally practical. The cat is a biological asset, a living firewall protecting the kingdom's most critical data, but it is also becoming something more. The respect for its skill is slowly, subtly warming into something that looks a lot like admiration. The appreciation for its utility is beginning to be shaded with genuine affection. The guardian of the grain is on a path to becoming a cherished member of the family. That small, fleeting moment of connection you witness the tired scribe and the contented cat is a seed. And once planted in the fertile soil of Egyptian society, it grows with astonishing speed. The respect earned by the guardians of the grain is now blossoming into something far more personal, something that happens not in the vast, impersonal complexes of the state, but in the quiet, intimate spaces of your own home. The cats are coming in from the cold. Or more accurately, they are coming in from the heat to find a shady spot on your floor. The transition is a natural one. Having a cat patrolling the outside of your home to keep the vermin at bay is good. Having one inside your home, a furry little security guard for your personal pantry, is even better. So the invitation is extended. That same cat you once saw as a wild, aloof hunter at the edge of the village now pads silently across your threshold. It carries with it the same desert-born grace, the same self-possessed dignity, but its calculation has changed. It has learned that your home is a place of comfort and safety, an oasis within an oasis. Your house is a simple, elegant structure designed for life in this climate. The mud brick walls are thick, keeping the interior cool. A central courtyard open to the sky allows for a breeze, and it's here that much of life unfolds. You sit on a low stool mending a fishing net while your children play a game with pebbles and a mark board on the floor. And in a patch of sun, a cat is meticulously washing its face. The scene is one of perfect domestic harmony, and the cat is no longer an outlier. It is woven into the fabric of the moment. It is as much a part of the household as the clay pots lining the wall, or the woven reed mats on the floor. The children learn the delicate rules of engagement. They learn that the tail is a sensitive instrument for balance and mood, not a pull toy, a lesson often learned through the swift educational sting of a warning claw. They learn that the cat's nap is sacred and that its affection must be earned, not demanded. In turn, the cat teaches them about the nature of the world. They watch mesmerized as it stalks a lizard in the courtyard, a perfect miniature lesson in patience focus and lethal efficiency. The cat's presence is both comforting and a little wild, a constant reminder of the world beyond the village walls. It's like having a tiny, well-mannered piece of the desert living with you, and its independence only makes you respect it more. You don't own this creature. It has simply chosen to share your space. It's a subtle distinction, but a critical one. This isn't the relationship of a master and a servant, but one of roommates who have found a mutually agreeable arrangement. This shift is so profound that it begins to appear in the most permanent records you have, the art you create to last for eternity. You see it in the tombs of nobles and high officials, the lavishly decorated houses of eternity they build for their afterlives. On the painted walls which depict an idealized version of their life on earth, the cat is now a regular feature. There at a grand banquet, while the master and mistress of the house sit on their fine chairs draped in white linen and heavy jewelry, you see a cat sitting beneath one of them. It's not chained or tethered. It's just there, a member of the family, often shown chewing on a fish or a piece of meat thrown from the table. This isn't a working animal in the background. This is a companion present at the most important family gatherings. The message is clear: the cat belongs. Egyptologists still argue whether the cat's primary role was ever truly pet in the modern sentimental sense, or if their cherished status was always inextricably tied to their symbolic protective power within the home. Was it love for its own sake or for the good fortune and security it was believed to bring? The truth, as is often the case, is probably a gentle blurring of the two. You love the cat for its amusing antics and its soft fur, but you also love it because, since it arrived, you swear the shadows in the corner of the room feel a little less menacing. It's both companion and magical talisman. The depth of this growing bond is most poignant when a cat's life comes to an end. This is no longer an indifferent event. It is a source of genuine grief. And in your world, grief has rituals. When your house cat dies, you don't just dispose of the body. You prepare it for its own journey into the afterlife. You may not be able to afford the elaborate mummification of a pharaoh, but you do what you can. You wrap the small body carefully in strips of linen, and as a final act of love and provision, you place a small bowl beside it, perhaps with a bit of dried fish or the bones of a bird. Some of your wealthier neighbors might even provide a tiny saucer of milk. This small, heartbreaking gesture shows a profound belief you expect to see your cat again. You believe it has a soul, a ba, that will journey on, and you want to ensure it doesn't travel hungry. The relationship has been utterly transformed. It began as a practical arrangement with a wild creature at the edge of town. It grew into a respectful professional partnership with the guardians of the grain. But now it has settled into something far deeper. The cat has moved from the granary to the courtyard to a place of honor under your chair, and from there it has made the final, short leap into your heart. You find yourself talking to it, confiding in it, smiling at its supreme confidence. You still appreciate its knack for dispatching the odd scorpion, of course. Some perks are just timeless, but its function has become secondary to its presence. Its purr is now the official soundtrack to your domestic peace. This small, furry predator, which once regarded your ancestors with cold, calculating neutrality, is now family. And this new elevated status as a beloved companion is about to launch it into a whole new stratosphere of existence, the world of the gods. The journey from respected worker to beloved family member is complete. The cat, once a wild stranger, is now a warm, purring presence at the heart of your home. But for your people, for the ancient Egyptians, love and respect for something beautiful and powerful often lead to one final ultimate destination, the realm of the divine. You don't just admire the sun, you worship it as Ra. You don't just fear the crocodile, you revere it as Sobek. Your world is porous with the divine constantly spilling into the mundane, and now you start to see the glint of the sacred in your cat's watchful eyes. It's a gradual dawning, a realization that happens in quiet moments. You watch your cat sit perfectly still at the entrance to your home, a silent sentinel watching the world go by, and you feel a sense of profound protection. You see it pounce on a scorpion that scuttled out from under a loose brick, its speed a tiny miracle of violence that just saved your child from a painful sting. In that moment, the cat is not just a hunter, it is a guardian, a vanquisher of poison and chaos. You see a mother cat nursing her litter of kittens, a fierce, low growl in her chest if you get too close, and you see the very essence of protective, nurturing love. These qualities, protection, fertility, the quiet hunting of dark things are the domains of the gods. The leap in logic feels natural, almost inevitable. If this small creature embodies these divine qualities so perfectly, then surely it must have a connection to the gods who govern them. And so a name begins to be whispered with new reverence in connection with your feline companion Bastet. At first, Bastet is a goddess of terrifying power. She is a lioness. She is a daughter of the sun god Ra, an enforcer of his will, a warrior deity of Lower Egypt who can bring both plague and protection. She is the fierce heat of the sun that can scorch the earth. You see this early leonine aspect in older carvings and texts. But as the domestic cat pads its way into the heart of your society, a fascinating transformation occurs. The goddess begins to transform too. Her image softens. The fierce lioness gradually morphs, becoming the familiar figure of a woman with the graceful head of a domestic cat. Sometimes she is depicted simply as a cat, often surrounded by kittens. Her portfolio changes with her form. While she never loses her protective power, the emphasis shifts. The scorching sun becomes the gentle, life-giving warmth of the hearth. The fierce warrior becomes the guardian of the home of mothers and of children. She becomes a goddess of music, dance, joy, and fertility. The very qualities you have come to love in your own cat are now seen as the sacred domain of a powerful goddess. It's a beautiful reflection of your own changing relationship. As you fell in love with the cat, you remade a goddess in its image. So now when you look at the cat napping on your sleeping mat, you don't just see a pet. You see a living, breathing incarnation of Bastet's grace, a sacred vessel for her spirit. It's one thing to have a good mouser in the house. It's another thing entirely to have the earthly representative of a major deity sleeping on your clean laundry. It certainly explains the attitude of serene entitlement. Theologians and historians still argue whether the average Egyptian believed the cat sleeping at the foot of their bed was Bastet herself in the flesh, or if they saw it as a sacred vessel, a temporary home for the goddess's spirit to inhabit when she chose. Was every cat a god, or was every cat a potential telephone line to the divine? The distinction is subtle, but for you it's almost irrelevant. Either way, the cat is sacred. It is to be honored, protected, and cherished because in its presence you are closer to the gods. And this divine association isn't limited to Bastet. In some of your most sacred texts, the ones that describe the perilous journey through the underworld, the cat takes on an even more powerful role. You see illustrations in the Book of the Dead showing the greatest god of them all, the sun god Ra, fighting his eternal enemy, the serpent of chaos, Apep. This monstrous snake tries to swallow the sun boat every night, plunging the world into eternal darkness. And in some of these crucial scenes, Ra himself takes the form of a large, muscular male cat, referred to as the Great Tomcat of Heliopolis. You see him depicted knife in one paw, pinning the writhing serpent with the other, slicing its head from its body to ensure the sun will rise again. Think about that for a moment. The small animal currently batting at a dust bunny in your courtyard is also the chosen form for the king of the gods when he performs his most important task, defeating ultimate evil. This elevates the cat from a symbol of domestic harmony to a player in the cosmic battle between order, your beloved Mat, and chaos. Now everything makes a little more sense. The cat's silent, focused hunt is a tiny daily reenactment of Ra's victory over Apep. Its very nature is to seek out and destroy the slithering, creeping things that represent chaos. Your home is its temple, its hunting ground, a sacred battlefield. Suddenly, you're very glad you gave it that extra piece of fish last night. You are currying favor not just with a pet, but with a divine warrior who moonlights as the sun god. This new layer of reverence changes everything. Harming a cat is no longer just a cruel act. It is an act of sacrilege, a direct offense against Bastet, and perhaps even an insult to Ra himself. It's a crime not just against your neighbor, but against the cosmic order of the universe. The stakes have been raised and the chill life of the Egyptian cat is about to get even better. This divine status you and your neighbors have bestowed upon the humble cat isn't just a private household belief anymore. It has coalesced into a powerful nationwide cult, and every great cult needs a capital city, a holy place where the worship is at its most intense. For the cat and for the goddess Bastet, that place is a city in the Nile Delta called Perbast, a name which means the estate of Bastet. You, however, know it by the name the whole country uses, Bubastis. And at least once in your life, you have to make the journey. You have to attend the great festival of Bastet. So you save up, you make your plans, and you join the Great Migration. The journey itself is part of the ritual. You find yourself on a wide, flat-bottomed barge packed with dozens of other pilgrims chugging slowly north along the great artery of the Nile. The air is electric with anticipation. This is no solemn, silent procession. It is a full-blown, joyous, and incredibly loud celebration. The boat is a riot of sound and color. Men play melodies on reed pipes, the high sweet notes dancing over the water. Women keep time with rattles and clappers, their hands a blur of motion. Everyone sings. The songs are hymns to Bastet, celebrating her joy, her protection, her ferocity. It is for all intents and purposes a sacred party boat. The mood is infectious, a kind of religious ecstasy mixed with pure, unadulterated fun. As your boat passes the small villages that dot the riverbank, the pilgrims erupt. They shout and jeer good-naturedly at the people on shore. Some of the women on board, caught up in the fervor of the festival, pull up their robes and flash the villagers an act that seems to be a traditional, if somewhat startling, part of the proceedings. It's a gesture of wild, untamed joy, a temporary shedding of inhibitions in honor of the goddess. Looking around at the music, the dancing, the wine being passed around in clay jars, and the general mayhem, you can't help but smile. You came to honor the serene guardian of your home, and you've ended up on what feels like the world's first ever booze cruise. A foreign historian from Greece, generations from now, will try to describe this very festival. He'll write that more people attend this event than any other in Egypt, estimating the crowds at 700,000 souls, not counting the children. Historians still argue whether Herodotus's account of the festival was an accurate eyewitness report, or if he was prone to some, let's call it, enthusiastic exaggeration to entertain his Greek audience. But as you watch a man try to dance with a live chicken on his head, while his friends clap him on, you think the Greek fellow might have actually been exercising a bit of restraint. The sheer scale of it is breathtaking. For days, the river is a highway of happy, noisy pilgrims, all converging on one sacred spot. And then you see it. The city of Bubastis rises from the flat, fertile land of the delta. As you get closer, you see that the entire city seems to be dedicated to its patron goddess. You see the cat motif everywhere. Small statues of seated cats adorn the corners of buildings. Vendors along the crowded streets are selling thousands of cat amulets, tiny bronze and faience figures for you to take home as a souvenir and a blessing. The city is clean, prosperous, and absolutely crawling with the real thing. Cats are everywhere. They lounge in the sun-drenched squares, they peer down from high walls, they weave through the legs of the crowd in the marketplace. Here they are not just tolerated or respected, they are citizens. You see people leaving out bowls of milk and fish for them on their doorsteps. To live in Bubastis is to live in constant, gentle service to its feline population. The city itself has been intentionally elevated with massive earthworks over the centuries, so that it rises above the annual floodwaters of the Nile. But the temple, the heart of it all, remains at its original, lower level. This means that from the surrounding streets you can look down into the sacred precinct as if it were a jewel nestled in a case. And what a jewel it is! The Temple of Bastet is not the biggest in Egypt, not as monumental as the great temples of Thebes, but it is described as the most beautiful. A wide, cool canal diverted from the Nile wraps around the temple on three sides, lined with towering trees that give it the feeling of a secluded sacred grove. The entrance is flanked by massive stone pylons covered in carvings depicting the glory of Bastet in both her lion and cat forms. You join the massive, slow-moving crowd funneling towards the entrance. The air smells of incense, roasting meat from the offerings, and the sweet perfume of lotus flowers floating on the temple's canal. The sound of priestly chanting drifts out to meet you, a low resonant hum that seems to vibrate in your bones. This is it, the epicenter of the faith, the place where the barrier between the human world and the divine world of the cat goddess is at its thinnest. You clutch the small offering. You brought a small carved wooden cat, a humble gift for the goddess, and prepare to enter her domain. You are about to step into the house of the living goddess, a place where her chosen children, the temple cats, live a life of unimaginable peace and luxury. You pass through the great stone gateway, and the chaotic noise of the festival outside falls away, muffled by the thick temple walls. The air inside the sacred precinct is cool, still, and heavy with reverence. You are now in the house of the goddess, and this is where her chosen children live. Forget the comfortable life of a house cat with its warm hearth and leftover scraps. The existence of a temple cat at Bubastis is on an entirely different level. It is a life of pampered ritual, of constant adoration, of five-star deity-level chill. Let's leave your pilgrim self at the gate for a moment, clutching your offering. Instead, imagine you are one of them. You are one of the chosen. You were born within these sacred walls, a direct descendant of a long line of consecrated felines. Your first sight was not a dusty courtyard, but the base of a colossal, lotus-topped column. Your first sounds were not the shouting of children, but the soft chanting of priests. Your reality is one of serene, holy luxury. You are not a pet. You are a sacred icon. Your day begins not with a hunt for a mouse, but with the arrival of your dedicated attendant. This isn't just some temple volunteer who cleans up after you. He is a priest, a man of high standing, with a title that might translate to something like Divine Father of the Cat or Overseer of the Sacred Felines of Bastet. It's an official, respected, and often hereditary position. His entire career, his entire purpose within this vast religious institution is your well-being. You, a small furry creature, are his sacred duty. You stretch with lazy grace as he approaches, recognizing him not as a master, but as your primary servant. He's the one who brings the good fish, and for this you honor him with a brief rub against his linen-clad legs. Your breakfast is not the scraps from a human's meal. The food brought to you is divine in its own right. Pilgrims and patrons of the temple provide a constant stream of the highest quality offerings for the goddess, and as her earthly representative, you get the finest cuts. You dine on choice pieces of Nile perch, slivers of roasted duck, and perhaps even specially prepared bread, baked with rich milk and honey. This is food fit for a god, and it is served to you on a clean clay or even a stone platter in a quiet, dedicated chamber. While your distant cousins, the guardians of the grain, were earning their keep, you are simply living your best life, and your very existence is seen as a form of worship. After your meal, the day is your own, a gentle cycle of napping, grooming, and being adored. You find a cool spot on the polished stone floor of a great hall, the massive columns soaring above you like a man-made forest. The faint, sweet smell of kaifi incense, a complex blend of 16 different ingredients, hangs perpetually in the air. The light that filters in is soft, diffused by the high, clear-story windows, painting shifting patterns on the floor that you might idly bat at if the mood strikes. Pilgrims, the ones allowed into this part of the temple, might see you from a distance. They point and whisper in awe. You register their presence, perhaps with a slow blink, the highest form of feline acknowledgement, before deciding that a particularly interesting spot on your shoulder requires immediate and thorough washing. It's important to appear serene, but also reassuringly busy with your own divine affairs. Archaeologists and historians still argue about the exact daily routine and living situation for sacred animals like you. Were you allowed to roam freely throughout the entire temple complex, a furry VIP with an all-access pass to every sacred chamber? Or were you and your fellow felines kept within a specific sanctified enclosure, a kind of gilded open-air cage where your safety was guaranteed, and pilgrims could observe your divine perfection without disturbing you? Perhaps it was a combination of both, with certain areas for quiet seclusion and others for public viewing. From your perspective, either arrangement is perfectly acceptable as long as the naps are uninterrupted and the fish arrives on time. You are not alone, of course. There are dozens of other cats in the temple, each one as sacred as you. You interact with them with the calm, complex diplomacy of your species. There are established territories for napping, preferred spots for sunbathing, and a general air of mutual sleepy respect. Sometimes these interactions lead to the next generation of temple cats, a blessed event that the priests celebrate. The birth of kittens is a sign of Bastit's potent fertility, a powerful omen of good fortune for the entire land. These kittens are born into the pinnacle of feline society, their sacred status assured from their first breath. They have won the lottery of reincarnation before they can even open their eyes. As you lounge on your papyrus mat, you are the living embodiment of the journey your species has taken. Your ancestors were wild, cautious hunters. Their children became valued exterminators. Their children in turn became beloved family members. And now you, the culmination of that journey, have a full-time priest. You are a living vessel for the goddess, and your comfort is a matter of religious importance. The purr that rumbles in your chest is not just a sign of contentment, it is the sound of the goddess signifying that all is right with the world. But this idyllic, pampered life has a dark and mysterious counterpart. This intense reverence has created a massive demand not just for living cats, but for dead ones too. And your sacred life is inextricably linked to a vast industrial-scale operation of ritual death and preservation that lies just beyond the temple walls. That perfect, peaceful life of the temple cat you imagined is one side of a very valuable coin. The other side is driven by the intense devotion of pilgrims like you standing at the gates of the temple in Bubastis. Your reverence multiplied by hundreds of thousands has created a demand that is almost impossible to meet. Because for your most important prayers, for your most desperate pleas, to the goddess Bastet, a simple wooden carving or a song isn't enough. You need a messenger. You need to send a direct communication to the divine, and in your world, the most effective way to do that is to send one of her own sacred children back to her. You need a cat mummy. After you've soaked in the atmosphere of the temple precinct, you are guided towards a series of workshops and stalls that line the outer walls. Here, temple priests oversee a brisk and holy trade. Before you are rows upon rows of mummified cats. They are standing, sitting, or lying down, each one meticulously wrapped in fine linen bandages. Some are plain, but many are works of art with intricate geometric patterns woven from different colored strips of cloth. Some have a face carefully drawn onto the wrappings, with black ink wide eyes and a neat triangular nose, giving it a serene, cartoonish expression. The most expensive ones might even have a gilded or painted cartonnage mask. You feel a pull of reverence and a touch of marketplace anxiety. Even piety has a price, and you find yourself haggling briefly with a priest, a process that feels both deeply commercial and sacredly important. You choose one that seems right, a modest, tightly wrapped bundle that feels solid and significant in your hands. This you believe is a cat that lived a good, albeit probably short life in the care of the temple. It was given a ritual death, being put to sleep painlessly before being expertly preserved by the temple embalmers. Now its soul, its bay, is ready to travel to the field of reeds, carrying your specific prayer with it. You are not buying a dead animal. You are commissioning a celestial envoy. It's the ancient equivalent of sending a registered letter straight to the goddess's front door. With your offering in hand, a priest leads you to the catacombs. The air grows cooler as you descend stone steps into the earth beneath the temple complex. The smell of dust, dry linen, and something ancient and unknowable fills your nostrils. By the flickering light of an oil lamp, you see them, walls of mummies, niches carved into the rock, each one filled with wrapped bundles, tunnels stretching off into the darkness, lined floor to ceiling with the offerings of centuries of pilgrims. It's not a graveyard, it's a library of prayers. There are not thousands here, but millions. The sheer scale of it is hard to comprehend. It is an industrial application of faith. Seeing this, you can't help but wonder where they all came from. Historians still argue about the primary source of these millions of cats that fueled the votive industry. Were there massive temple-run catteries, essentially kitten farms breeding cats specifically for this purpose? This theory is supported by scientific studies of the mummies, which show that many were very young, often less than a year old, dispatched at the peak of their health to serve as messengers. Or were the cats collected from the general population, with families donating their beloved pets after a natural death to serve the goddess? Perhaps it was a mixture of both, a vast network of supply to meet an insatiable spiritual demand. The reality is likely a complex and somewhat unsettling combination of dedicated breeding, pious donation, and a system that saw these creatures as both sacred life and holy commodity. You are led to an empty niche and you carefully place your mummy within it, whispering your final prayer for health, for a good harvest, for the protection of your family. Your messenger is now on its way. What you don't know, and what you will likely never know, is what's truly inside that neat bundle of linen. Centuries upon centuries later, scientists with strange, powerful machines that can see through solid objects will examine these mummies by the thousands, and they will discover a fascinating and slightly scandalous secret of the temple priests. Many of the mummies are fakes. The demand was so high, the pressure to produce offerings so intense, that the suppliers often cut corners. Some of your fellow pilgrims have just paid a good price for an artfully wrapped bundle that contains only a few random cat bones, a skull, and a femur perhaps padded out with reeds and sand to give it the right shape and weight. Some of the most elaborate wrappings contain only a single kitten. Others contain the remains of different animals altogether, like shrews or birds. And some, the most audacious fakes of all, contain nothing but mud and pottery shards. It was a massive, widespread industry, and like any industry, it had its share of corruption and shoddy craftsmanship. It was the ultimate, some assembly-required scam, and the divine customer support line had been disconnected for 2 millennia. But you know nothing of this. You stand in the silent, cool darkness of the catacombs surrounded by the physical prayers of millions. You feel a sense of peace and release. Your duty is done. Your message has been sent. You turn and walk back up the steps, emerging from the dark coolness of the earth into the bright hot sun of the festival, leaving your little mummy to wait in the silent, crowded darkness for eternity. You walk away from the cool, silent darkness of the catacomb, back into the vibrant, sun-drenched chaos of the festival at Bubastis. The intensity of that industrial-scale worship, the thought of those millions of silent messengers packed into the earth, begins to fade as you merge back into the river of everyday life. The most powerful expressions of faith aren't always the grandest gestures. More often, they are the small, constant, personal ones. And as you look around, you realize the image of the cat isn't just confined to the temple or the tomb. It's everywhere. It has woven itself so completely into the fabric of your culture that you can hardly go an hour without seeing its familiar form. Let's start with the small object you are likely wearing right now. Around your neck, on a simple string of linen thread, hangs a small amulet. It is cool and smooth against your skin. Yours is made of faience, a brilliant blue-green ceramic that gleams in the sun like a tiny piece of the Nile. It's fashioned in the shape of a seated cat, its back straight, its tail curled neatly around its paws. This isn't just a piece of jewelry. It is your personal portable piece of divine protection. It's a fragment of Bastet's power, a miniature bodyguard you carry with you through your day. You wear it for the same reasons you pray to the goddess for joy, for fertility, to protect your children, and to ward off the hidden dangers of the world, from the venom of a scorpion to the unseen forces of chaos. These amulets are ubiquitous, worn by everyone from the highest noble to the simplest farmer. They are the most common physical manifestation of the cat cult. The wealthy might have them carved from semi-precious stones like lapis lazuli or carnelian, or cast in solid bronze or even gold. But the humble faience version is the great equalizer. The technology to produce it is straightforward, allowing these small tokens of faith to be mass-produced and made available to all. The cat's sacred protection is not a privilege reserved for the rich. It is a universal right. It's a quiet comfort, a constant reminder that no matter where you are, a goddess's watchful eye is upon you, embodied in the serene form of her favorite animal. But the cat's influence on your daily life goes far beyond these little charms. Its image has become a staple of decorative art, a go-to motif for objects of beauty and elegance. Let's follow you back to your home, away from the grand temples, and into the quiet intimacy of your personal space. You sit at a small wooden table to prepare for the day. You reach for your kohl, the black powder you'll use to create the iconic, dramatic eyeliner that protects your eyes from the sun's glare and from infection. The pot that holds it is not a simple clay jar. It's carved from wood or stone into the shape of a playful cat, its hollowed-out body forming the container. You dip the applicator stick in, perhaps smiling at the charming form. Next to it is your mirror. It isn't glass, but a disc of highly polished bronze that gives off a warm, slightly distorted reflection. You pick it up, and the handle is a masterpiece of design. It's a slender, stylized figure of a cat, its elegant, arching body forming a perfect grip for your hand. As you gaze at your reflection, you are literally looking over the head of a cat. Even the furniture joins the theme. The small stool you're sitting on might have its three legs carved to resemble the graceful paws of a feline. The cat is not just a symbol of a god, it has become a symbol of beauty, grace, and domestic chic. Art historians still argue whether the prevalence of the cat motif in these everyday objects was purely driven by religious devotion to Bastet, or if it also represented a genuine secular appreciation for the animal's aesthetic qualities. Was your cat-shaped coal pot a daily prayer for beauty from the goddess, or did you just think it was a more stylish option than a plain one? The answer is most likely a comfortable, inseparable blend of both. You choose it because its elegance pleases your eye, and that very elegance is a reflection of the goddess herself. Art and faith are not separate categories in your mind. An object can be beautiful, functional, and holy all at once. This appreciation for the cat's form leads to the creation of countless small statues, distinct from the mummies or amulets. These are works of art designed for household shrines or simply as beautiful objects. The most common are bronze casts using the lost wax method. They depict the cat in its most classic pose, seated alert, exuding an aura of calm authority. The artists capture the subtle details, the twitch of the ears, the powerful musculature beneath the smooth skin. Often these statues would have been adorned with real jewelry. You might see one with golden rings piercing its ears or an engraved collar around its neck. The eyes might be inlaid with rock crystal or alabaster, giving them a startlingly lifelike gaze. You look into these statues' eyes and you see not just a representation of an animal, but the serene intelligence you recognize in the cat sleeping in your own courtyard. The cat's image has become a brand, a visual shorthand for a whole constellation of positive attributes: protection, fertility, joy, elegance, and a hint of divine mystery. You see it everywhere, a constant, reassuring presence in a world that can often feel uncertain. It has traveled an incredible journey from a wild hunter to a divine icon, and now it has settled comfortably into your home, your jewelry box, and your art, its silent, graceful form, a permanent fixture in the visual landscape of your life. The image of the cat, now firmly embedded in your art, your jewelry, and your home, is more than just a popular trend. It is the symbol of a creature you have elevated to the highest echelons of society. When something is that valuable as a spiritual icon, a protector, and a beloved companion, you don't just admire it, you protect it. And in your civilization, protection means laws, rules that are woven into the very fabric of society, with consequences that are swift and severe. The chill life of an Egyptian cat is guaranteed by one of the most robust legal and social safety nets in the ancient world. You learn these rules not from a written legal codex, but from the stories you hear in the marketplace and the swift justice you might witness on the street. The first and most important law is absolute: to intentionally kill a cat is a crime so heinous that it demands the ultimate punishment. Later writers, visitors from Greece who are both fascinated and bewildered by your culture will record this with astonishment. They will write that the penalty for willfully killing a cat is death. There are no appeals, no mitigating circumstances. It is a capital offense. It is an act of deicide in miniature and unforgivable affront to the goddess Bastet and to the cosmic order of Maat. It is quite simply unthinkable. Even an accidental death is a deeply serious matter. If a cat runs under the wheels of your ox cart or is killed in a house fire, it brings a heavy cloud of misfortune and social disgrace upon you, often accompanied by a ruinous fine. But the official punishment is sometimes the least of your worries. The true enforcers of this law are the common people whose collective reverence for cats can boil over into spontaneous and terrifying justice. You hear the story whispered in the market, a recent event from the capital that has everyone talking. A foreigner, a Roman dignitary traveling in a chariot, accidentally killed a cat. He was horrified, of course, and immediately reported the accident, hoping for mercy. The pharaoh himself, valuing the delicate political relationship with the rising power of Rome, sent officials to protect the man. But it was no use. A crowd gathered, their grief and horror quickly turning to a righteous fury. They saw not a political ally, but a man whose carelessness had extinguished a sacred life. The pleas of the officials, even the authority of the pharaoh, meant nothing. The mob swarmed the Roman, and he was torn apart. It's a chilling story, a stark lesson in respecting local customs. It tells you that the law protecting cats is not just a decree from on high, it is a fiery conviction that burns in the heart of every Egyptian. When in Thebes, you do not mess with the cats. This legal protection extends beyond their physical safety. Cats are considered a national treasure, a living resource that belongs to Egypt and Egypt alone. Consequently, there is a strict ban on their export. You can't just decide to sell a litter of kittens to a Phoenician sea captain. To do so is a crime against the state. The reasons are twofold. First, there's the practical advantage. Your cats are superior pest control, the guardians of the grain that built your civilization. Why would you give that advantage to rival powers? Second, and more importantly, they are vessels of the goddess. To allow them to be taken from the sacred land of the Nile would be to dilute their holiness, to risk angering Bastet. So a strange kind of feline-focused international policy develops. Historians still argue about the practicalities of how this export ban was enforced. Was there a dedicated border patrol, a kind of customs agency, checking departing ships for smuggled kittens? Or was it more of an honor system driven by the social taboo and the genuine fear of divine retribution? If you were caught, the reality was likely a patchwork of official oversight and public vigilance. Everyone was a potential agent in the fight against feline trafficking. Naturally, where there is a ban, a black market emerges. The reputation of the elegant, intelligent Egyptian cat spreads across the ancient world, and they become a desirable luxury commodity. Foreign merchants are willing to pay exorbitant prices for them. This leads to a constant low-level game of cat and mouse, if you'll pardon the expression. Smugglers try to sneak cats out of the country, hiding them in baskets or cargo holds. In response, your government has special agents, official buyers whose job it is to travel to foreign ports, find any Egyptian cats that have been sold abroad, and purchase them back, sometimes at great expense, to repatriate the stolen national treasures. You can imagine a stoic Egyptian agent in a foreign land, his sole mission not to spy or steal secrets, but to locate and retrieve a purloining puss named Fluffy. This entire legal framework, the death penalty for harming them, the public enforcement of their safety, and the national ban on their export cements the cat's unique position. It is not property in the way a goat or a cow is. You cannot do with it as you please. You are its guardian, its custodian, its servant. The cat owns itself, and in a broader sense, it is owned by the gods and the state. Its life is sacrosanct, its presence a blessing, and its safety a matter of national and spiritual importance. This legal protection is the ultimate expression of the journey it has taken from a wild hunter to a creature so revered that the entire power of the state is marshaled for its defense. All of this, the worship, the art, the laws promising protection under penalty of death, forms a sacred canopy over your entire species. But these grand societal structures mean nothing to the single tiny life at the heart of it all. To understand the chill life of an Egyptian cat, you have to begin where every life begins, small, blind, and utterly dependent. So let's zoom in past the laws and the temples into a quiet, dark corner of a mud brick house where a new litter has just been born. You are one of them. Your first reality is not sight or sound, but warmth and feeling. Your world is the soft fur of your mother, the rumbling, bone-deep vibration of her purr, and the instinctive, desperate search for milk. You are a tiny, wriggling comma of life, your eyes sealed shut, your ears folded tight. Your universe is a pile of your siblings, a soft mound of shared warmth and competitive nursing. For these first days, this is everything. The great land of Egypt, the mighty Nile, the pharaohs and their gods, none of it exists. There is only the dark, the warmth and the comforting scent of your mother. Then one day the human family that lives in the house finds you. From your perspective, a giant hand impossibly large reaches gently into your nest. There is no fear in your mother's posture, only a calm acceptance. The giants make soft cooing noises. For them, this is a moment of profound joy and good fortune. To have a cat give birth in your home is a direct personal blessing from Bastet. It is a powerful omen of fertility protection and happiness for the household. You and your tiny helpless state are a living good luck charm. You are not a nuisance to be dealt with, but a gift to be cherished. This discovery doesn't endanger you, it consecrates you. You are now officially under the protection of these benevolent giants, in addition to the invisible shield of the law. After a week or two, a crack of light appears in your world as your eyes begin to open. At first, it's just a blurry, overwhelming mess, but slowly shapes begin to resolve. You see the strong, reassuring head of your mother. You see the clumsy forms of your siblings, and you see the vast, fascinating landscape of your home. It is a world built for adventure. Your legs, which once seemed to have a mind of their own, finally start to cooperate. You take your first wobbly, uncertain steps out of the nest. The floor is a cool, smooth expanse of packed earth. A stray piece of papyrus is a mysterious monster to be pounced upon. A beetle scurrying along the wall is the most exciting prey imaginable. Your life becomes a whirlwind of play, which is really just training in disguise. You and your siblings engage in epic silent battles, ambushing each other from behind clay pots, wrestling and batting with claws carefully sheathed. Your mother encourages this. She is your first and most important teacher. She shows you the proper technique for washing your face, the critical importance of a thorough ear cleaning. She brings you your first real food, a small mouse or lizard, and teaches you the instinctual, lethal pounce that has defined your kind for millennia. Biologists and archaeologists still argue about how much the process of domestication had altered your development. By this point, were your kittenhoods significantly longer and more playful than those of your wild ancestors? Or were you still maturing at a wildcat's pace, driven by ancient instinct? Looking at you tumble with your siblings, it seems you've been given the gift of a little more time for blissful ignorance. But your world, for all its safety and comfort, is not without its perils. This is a hard truth of the ancient world for humans and animals alike. Life is fragile, and infant mortality is high. The laws of man cannot protect you from the laws of nature. A scorpion seeking the cool shade of a clay jar can deliver a fatal sting to a curious paw. A snake can slither into the courtyard from the nearby reeds, a silent and deadly threat. Diseases for which there are no remedies can sweep through a litter with devastating speed. Every day you survive is a small victory. You watch your mother, ever vigilant, chase off a snake with a terrifying display of hissing and spitting her body, puffed up to twice its normal size. You learn to be cautious, to look before you leap, to trust the deep ancestral instincts that tell you what is safe and what is not. You grow quickly. The clumsy, stumbling ball of fur is replaced by a sleek, graceful young hunter. Your blue kitten eyes change to the green gold of an adult. Your playful ambushes become more focused, more silent. You perform your first real hunt, stalking a mouse in the family's small pantry, with the same deadly seriousness your ancestors used in the great state granaries. You bring your trophy back to the family, a proud offering to the giants who have given you food and shelter. They praise you, reinforcing the ancient contract between your species. You are earning your keep not just as a divine mascot, but as a functioning, useful member of the household. Your first year is a journey from helpless dependence to sleek self-sufficiency. You have learned the rules of the house, the best places to nap, the subtle language of your mother, and the unforgiving realities of survival. You have survived the most dangerous period of your life, protected by a combination of your mother's fierce love, your human family's reverence, and the sheer good luck of the gods. You are now a young adult, a perfect specimen of the creature an entire nation adores. And soon the giants who have watched over you will give you the final mark of your status as an individual. As a true member of the family, they will give you a name. You have made it. You've navigated the treacherous labyrinth of kittenhood and emerged as a sleek, confident young adult. You are a master of the silent pounce, a connoisseur of sunny spots, and a respected member of the household. But there is one final step in your transformation, from a generic, anonymous kitten to a fully realized individual in the eyes of your human family. It is an act of love and recognition, a simple gesture that cements your place in their world forever. They are going to give you a name. Up until now, you have been one of the kittens. But as your personality has started to shine through, your human family begins to see you not just as a cat, but as this cat. You are the one who is particularly good at hunting geckos, the one who purrs the loudest, the one who enjoys having the top of your head rubbed in just that certain way. This growing recognition of your unique character calls for an equally unique identifier. The act of naming you is the formal acknowledgement that you are not interchangeable. You are a somebody. So, the giants begin to make a new sound at you, a specific combination of tones they repeat whenever they offer you a piece of fish or settle you onto their lap. Let's say they decide to call you Nejim. You don't understand the meaning of the word, of course, but you are an expert in tone and context. You quickly learn that this sound Nejim is directed at you and that it is always associated with pleasant things. For your human family, the choice is deeply meaningful. In their language, Nejim means sweet or pleasant one. It's a name that reflects the joy you've brought into their lives. And it's not just a name we're inventing for this story. In a real tomb of a man named Pwimre, a high official from centuries past, there is a depiction of his pet cat, and the hieroglyphs next to it spell out this very name. You are not just any cat, you are Nejim the Sweet One. The names given to cats like you are wonderfully revealing. Many are like yours based on a desirable quality. A particularly active and playful cat might be named something that means lively. But some of the most common names are to our modern ears beautifully and hilariously direct. The most popular name for a male cat is quite simply Miu. The female version is Meat. That's it. They have literally named their cat Cat. The human equivalent would be looking at your newborn baby and deciding to call him human. It seems to lack a certain creative spark, and yet there's a charming honesty to it. It's a declaration of what you are, in its purest form a celebration of your essential catness. There is no confusion when your neighbor calls for Mew. Every cat in the vicinity knows exactly who they're talking about. Other names are descriptive of appearance. A dark-furred cat might be named Smokey. A cat with a tawny golden coat might be given a name that means sunlight. And some, in a clear nod to your divine connections, are named after goddesses, a constant living tribute to the powerful deities you represent. The name is a reflection of how the family sees you as a sweetheart, as the ultimate cat, as a beautiful object, or as a tiny god in residence. Egyptologists still argue about the full significance of giving a cat a name in your culture. Was it purely a sign of personal affection the same way people name their pets today? Or did it also serve a deeper magical purpose? In the Egyptian worldview, to name something is to give it power and to define its existence. A true name holds the essence of a thing. By giving you a name, your family isn't just making it easier to call you over for dinner. They may also be magically binding your protective spirit to the household, solidifying your role as its guardian. Your name spoken aloud becomes a small daily incantation, reinforcing the wards of safety that your mere presence provides. You Nejim are now a formally recognized agent of harmony within the home. You, of course, are blissfully unaware of these complex theological and sentimental debates. You just know that when the small giant points at you and says, Nejim, good things happen. You have also perfected the art of feline response. You hear the sound, you register it, and you might even flick an ear in acknowledgement. But you will decide whether or not to grace the caller with your presence after a mandatory 3-second pause to consider your options. It is crucial to maintain an air of dignified independence. You are a companion, not a servant, and your affection is a gift, not an obligation. This act of naming is the final thread that stitches you into the family tapestry. You see evidence of it in the most lasting records they create. On tomb walls next to the depictions of husbands and wives, sons and daughters, you sometimes see the family cat sitting patiently under a chair. And right there next to its painted form, a scribe has carefully written its name in hieroglyphs for all of eternity. It is an irrefutable declaration that this animal was not just an object or a symbol, but a specific beloved individual whose presence was so important that it needed to be recorded and brought along into the afterlife. You are not just property, you have an identity. You are Nejim. And having a name means you are important enough to adorn. Soon your family will decide you need some accessories to match your new status. You are Nejim. The name has settled upon you like a second skin, a sound that defines you in the world of the giants you live with. This new status, this recognized individuality, apparently comes with an upgrade package. Being a named member of the family means you are no longer a minimalist. Your humans have decided that your natural, unadorned perfection, sleek and elegant as it is, could use a little something extra. It is time for you to get some bling. One afternoon, the mother of your human family approaches you with a soft smile. In her hands is a thin band of dark-dyed leather studded with small, polished river stones. She is patient and slow, letting you sniff this strange new object. It smells of leather oil and her own familiar scent. With gentle, practiced hands, she wraps it around your neck and fastens it with a simple knot. It feels strange. A weight, however slight, that you are not used to. Your first instinct is to paw at it to try and wriggle your head out of this peculiar loop. But the gesture is accompanied by so much praise, so many soft cooing sounds, and a particularly delicious piece of dried fish that you decide to tolerate it. For now. This is your first collar, the most common piece of feline jewelry in all of Egypt. It is the ultimate status symbol, a clear and public declaration that you are not a stray. You belong to someone. You have a home. For a cat in your position, the collar is likely made of soft leather or woven linen, designed more for comfort and decoration than for restraint. In wealthier households, a cat might sport a collar of far greater value. Imagine a high official's cat lounging on a balcony overlooking the Nile, wearing a collar of fine red leather, with its name and the name of its owner carefully inscribed in black ink. The truly elite, the cats of the royal court, perhaps might even have collars of sheet gold or silver, intricately worked and inlaid with semi-precious stones. Archaeologists still argue whether the primary purpose of a collar like yours was decorative, a simple sign of ownership like a brand, or if it also served a more practical function. Perhaps it was designed to hold a small protective amulet, adding another layer of magical defense to your existence. Or maybe it held a tiny bell or rattle. This last idea is a source of some amusement. A bell would warn mice and lizards of your approach, effectively ruining your primary function and passion, but it would also warn your clumsy human family not to trip over you in the dark. So perhaps it was a trade-off in the name of domestic safety. You, for one, are glad your collar is silent. A hunter needs stealth. You gradually accept the new accessory. You learn that it makes a rather pleasant scratching sound when you rub your neck against the leg of a stool. It becomes part of you, a symbol of your cushy life. But the collar is just the beginning of the possibilities for feline adornment. You see evidence of it in the art that surrounds you. Remember those beautiful bronze statues of seated cats, the ones you see in the shrines of wealthy homes? If you look closely, you'll notice many of them have something more than just a collar. They have earrings, small, elegant, golden hoops dangling from their perfectly cast bronze ears. This raises a tantalizing and slightly alarming question: did real cats wear earrings? The artistic evidence is certainly there. It suggests that for the most pampered, most cherished, most elite of felines, having their ears pierced was the height of fashion. You can try to picture the scene: a very placid, perhaps slightly sedated temple cat being held by a priest, while another specialist, a royal cat piercer, performs the delicate operation. The cat would then be fitted with golden rings, becoming a living statue, a testament to the wealth and devotion of its owner. Thankfully, your own giants seem content with just the collar. You glance down at your paws with their formidable and fully functional claws, and you decide that any attempt to perforate your perfect fuzzy ears would be a serious breach of contract, likely resulting in swift and sharp retribution. Your ears, you feel, are quite decorative enough as they are. Beyond collars and the possibility of earrings, there were other baubles. Small pendants made of polished stone or faience could be hung from a collar. Tiny, intricately carved beads could be woven into the fabric. You are, for your family, a walking piece of art, and they take great pleasure in curating your look. Your new bling says to any visitor, we are prosperous enough not only to feed this creature, but to accessorize it. You are the ancient equivalent of a luxury handbag that also happens to be a highly efficient killing machine. You stretch the leather of your collar, creaking softly. You are Nejum, the name one, the collared one. Your external appearance now perfectly matches your internal sense of self-importance. You are clearly a cat of high station, a cherished individual whose family dotes on your every move. This intense level of personal investment means they care deeply not just about how you look, but about how you feel. And when inevitably you fall ill or get injured, they will not simply leave you to the mercy of fate. They will seek out a doctor. Because in a world that puts jewelry on its cats, of course, there is veterinary medicine. You are Nejum the collared cat, the cherished one, a walking, purring symbol of your family's status and affection. Your life is an endless, gentle cycle of sunbeams, naps, and choice morsels of food. But even in the most pampered of lives, the unexpected happens. One day you misjudge a leap from a high wall, or perhaps have a less than victorious encounter with a large, angry rat in the pantry. You come away with a deep scratch on your leg, and it's not getting better. It feels hot and angry, and a deep lethargy settles into your bones. You have no energy for hunting, no interest in food. You decide to power down all non-essential systems and retreat to a dark, quiet spot under a storage bench. Your only job now is to lie very still and feel sorry for yourself. You discover, exceptionally good at this job. Your human family notices the change immediately. Your absence from your usual napping spots, your untouched bowl of food, the way you limp when you move at all causes a wave of quiet concern to ripple through the household. In many other places, for many other animals, this would be the end of the story. An injured animal is a liability left to the harsh calculus of nature. But you are not just any animal. You are an Egyptian cat. You are family. And your family's not about to let you go without a fight. They send for a doctor. A new giant arrives at the house, a man who moves with a quiet confidence and smells of dust-dried herbs and a faint metallic tang of blood. He is a physician. Historians still argue about the existence of dedicated cat specialists in your time. Was this man a true feline veterinarian, a doctor who spent his days treating nothing but cats? Or was he a general animal doctor, equally comfortable treating a farmer's prized bull as a nobleman's cherished pet? He might even be a human physician applying his knowledge of anatomy and healing across species. The lines are not as clearly drawn as they will be in the future, but whatever his specialty, he is here for you. Your human mother speaks to him in low, worried tones, pointing to your hiding spot. The doctor coaxes you out, gently handling you with a firm but respectful touch that you find mildly offensive but are too tired to protest with more than a weak complaining meow. He lays you on a clean linen cloth and begins his examination. His knowledge isn't just folklore or guesswork passed down through the generations. It comes from a long professional tradition, some of it even recorded on precious papyrus scrolls. Medical texts from this era, like the famous Kahun papyrus, contain entire veterinary sections. While they may focus on the ailments of economically vital animals like cattle, they establish a clear methodology diagnosis through careful observation. The doctor looks at the color of your gums, feels the heat coming from your wound, and notes the dullness of your fur and the weariness in your eyes. He sees not just a sick cat, but a collection of specific symptoms that point to a diagnosis. He then prepares his treatment, and this is where the genius of Egyptian medicine reveals itself. It is a brilliant, seamless blend of practical science and magical faith. First, the practical part. He carefully cleans your wound with water and a bit of beer, its alcohol content making it a surprisingly effective antiseptic. Then he prepares a poultice. He mixes a bit of honey with some ground herbs. You don't know it, but the honey is a medical marvel, a natural antibacterial agent that will fight the infection and help the wound close. He applies the sticky, sweet-smelling goo to your leg and then wraps it neatly with a fresh strip of clean linen, creating a professional-looking bandage. He might even murmur instructions to your family to tempt you with certain foods to build back your strength. But the physical treatment is only half of the cure. As he works, the doctor begins to speak in a low rhythmic monotone. He is reciting an incantation. He is not just treating the wound you can see, he is fighting the invisible demon of sickness that has invaded your body. He speaks directly to the affliction, ordering it to leave this sacred vessel. He invokes the names of powerful gods to aid him in his work. He might call upon Sekhmet, the fierce lioness goddess of plague and healing, to turn her destructive power against the illness itself. And of course, he will call upon Bastet, your patroness, asking her to bless her child and restore you to health. To your family, the honey and the hymn are not two separate treatments. They are two parts of a single powerful whole. One heals the body, the other heals the spirit. Both are essential. You lie there bandaged and bless the strange doctor's spell, a soothing hum in the quiet room. Your family surrounds you, their relief and hope a palpable presence. Over the next few days, they dote on you, bringing you water, trying to tempt you with morsels of fish and giving your new bandage a wide berth. Slowly, the fire in your leg subsides and your appetite returns. The blend of magic and medicine has worked. Your life so precious to your human family has been saved. Their willingness to call in an expert and pay for your treatment is the ultimate proof of your value. You are not disposable. And with your health returning, you will soon be back to your important duties of napping, hunting, and generally gracing the household with your perfect divine presence. The magical incantations and the honey poultice have done their work. The fire in your leg has cooled, the bandage is gone, and your energy has returned. For several days you were a patient, a fragile creature being nursed back to health. But with every passing hour, a deeper, older part of you is reawakening. The pampered pet, the bejeweled companion, the living icon, all of these roles are layered over a core of pure, undiluted predator. Your recent brush with mortality has only sharpened your instincts. It is time to get back to work. Your family's love for you is complex. They adore your soft fur, your rumbling purr, and your amusing, sleepy antics. But their profound respect, the deep-seated reverence they hold for you, is rooted in something far more primal. It is rooted in your capacity for violence. They don't just tolerate your killer instinct, they value it. It is the very foundation of the covenant between your species. All the chill perks of your life, the safety, the shelter, the free food, the medical care are built upon the fact that you are and always will be a hunter. You feel the shift inside you as you patrol the edges of your family's courtyard. The lethargy of sickness is replaced with a vibrant electric alertness. Every sense is tuned to its highest frequency. Your ears pivot like tiny dishes, capturing the faintest rustle in the reeds that grow against the outer wall. Your nose deciphers the complex tapestry of scents in the air, the dusty earth, the blooming jasmine, and the faint musky trail of a field mouse that passed by an hour ago. Your eyes, with their vertical slits, are perfectly designed to detect the slightest motion in the dappled sunlight. Your day job might be napping, but this is your true calling. One afternoon, as the sun begins to lose its midday ferocity, a new scent cuts through the air. It is dry, dusty, and dangerous. You freeze your body, sinking low to the ground. Near the cool stones of the small garden, a cobra has sought refuge from the heat. It is a creature of lethal beauty, its hooded head swaying slightly as it tastes the air. The children of the house are playing only a few paces away, blissfully unaware of the danger. This is the moment your entire being was designed for. The transformation is instantaneous. The sleepy house cat named Nejum vanishes. In its place is a silent, focused killing machine, a direct descendant of the wild hunters of the desert. There is no thought, only pure flowing instinct. You move with a liquid grace, using every shadow and piece of cover to close the distance. The snake senses you at the last moment, rising up with a sharp hiss, its famous hood flaring in warning. But you are already in motion. You are a blur of tawny fur, a dance of calculated risk. You feint to one side, drawing its strike, then dart back your paws, a lightning-fast battery against its head. You are not trying to crush it, but to confuse and exhaust it. The snake strikes again and again, but it is always met with empty air or a stinging slap from your claws. Then you see your opening. As the cobra pulls back for another strike, you surge forward, your fangs sinking into the precise spot at the back of its neck, severing the spine. It is over in a second. You step back, your sides heaving slightly, the dead snake lying limp on the stone floor. Your human family, having seen the final moments of the drama, rushes out. But their cries are not of horror at the act of violence. They are cries of relief, of gratitude, of profound, awe-filled respect. You have not just killed a pest. You have saved their child. In that moment, you are not just their pet. You are their guardian, their champion. You are a miniature echo of the great god Ra himself in his guise as a tomcat slaying the serpent of chaos. This is why artists sometimes carve the base of the great papyrus-shaped columns in their temples and homes to look like you. You are the eternal guardian of the sacred reeds, forever holding back the snake. Of course, not all of your hunting expeditions are so dramatic or so universally appreciated. Your instincts drive you to hunt whether you are hungry or not. Sometimes, after a particularly successful stalk in the pantry, you will bring your prize, a fat and sadly deceased mouse, and deposit it proudly on the sleeping mat of your human mother. The high-pitched noise she makes is one you have learned to interpret as a complex form of gratitude though you can't quite figure out why she always gets rid of your thoughtful gift. Ethologists and historians still argue for centuries about this very behavior. What is the meaning of these gifts of prey? Is it a misguided attempt to feed your clumsy giant family members who seem incapable of catching their own food? Is it a lesson, an attempt to teach them how to hunt properly by providing a demonstration model? Or are you simply bringing your surplus kill back to the safety of the den to be dealt with later? From your perspective, it's all perfectly logical. You have provided for the family. You have contributed to the household resources. Surely this deserves praise. The giants are strange, but you love them anyway. You will continue to bring them presents, hoping that one day they will finally understand. This hunter within you is not a flaw to be trained out of you. It is your greatest asset, the very heart of who you are. That lethal focus skill your cat Nejum possesses is far too remarkable to be confined to the four walls of your house. The respect you hold for the hunter within is not just about gratitude for a dead snake or a few less mice in the grain stores. You see its potential. You realize that this miniature predator, this divine engine of destruction, could be more than a guardian. It could be a partner. And so on a cool morning when the sun is just beginning to burn the mist off the great river, you decide to take your cat hunting with you. Let's shift our perspective for a moment. You are now the master of the house, a well-to-do Egyptian with a bit of time for sport. Today's pursuit is fowling in the marshes, a favorite pastime of the elite. It's a family affair. Your wife is with you, dressed in her finest white linen, and perhaps your young son buzzing with excitement. You all clamber onto a flat-bottomed skiff made from bundled papyrus reeds, a light and nimble craft perfect for navigating the shallow, tangled waterways. And at the prow of the boat, standing with a calm, alert confidence that you envy, is Nejum. Your servant pulls you away from the shore and into the thick of the marsh. It is like entering another world. The air grows thick and humid alive with the buzz of insects and the deep croaking chorus of frogs. Towering stalks of papyrus press in on all sides, their green heads forming a dense canopy far above you. Sunlight filters through in shifting emerald green shafts. This is the world of the teeming, chaotic life that springs from the Nile's fertility, and it is full of birds. Ducks, geese, herons, they rustle and call from within the dense reeds hidden from view. This is not a hunt of quiet waiting, it is a hunt of action. In your hand you hold your weapon, a throwing stick expertly carved from hardwood in a curved shape much like a boomerang. Your job is to act as the beater to flush the prey out of their hiding spots. You stand tall on the skiff, a practiced and noble pose you have seen depicted in countless paintings. With a powerful flick of your wrist, you send the throwing stick spinning into a particularly dense thicket of reeds. The effect is instantaneous. With a great cacophony of panicked squawks and a frantic beating of wings, a dozen ducks burst into the air. For a moment, the sky is a flurry of motion, and in that same moment, your partner goes to work. Nejum, who has been waiting with a stillness that is almost unnerving, explodes into action. With a leap of impossible grace, the cat launches itself from the prow of the unsteady boat directly into the air. Its body twists a blur of fur, in focused intent, its claws extended. It intercepts one of the low-flying ducks, its jaws clamping down decisively. The bird drops and the cat lands with a soft splash in the shallows, already paddling back toward the boat with its prize. This is the scene that you will have painted on the walls of your tomb, a perfect moment of a perfect life captured for eternity. Historians and Egyptologists still argue about the literal truth of these fowling scenes. Were cats like Nejum actually trained as hunting companions, disciplined retrievers who worked in tandem with their human masters? Or was their presence in the boat more symbolic, a powerful emblem of your control over the natural world, and a nod to the protective hunting goddesses you worship? Perhaps the reality was somewhere in between. Maybe you just brought the cat along, and it did what cats do, instinctively pouncing on any bird that came within its reach, a kind of chaotic but effective assistant. In the most idealized versions of these paintings, the artist will depict your cat as a true prodigy, a master of its craft. It will be shown suspended in midair, a testament to its agility, holding not one, but two birds at once, one firmly in its mouth, another pinned beneath the claws of its forepaws. You smile at the thought. It's a bit of an exaggeration, a way to show the gods that you lived a life of supreme abundance and skill. but it captures the essence of your cat's incredible prowess. You don't care about the future debates of scholars. You only know that having Nejim in the boat works. You pole through the marsh and the pattern repeats. You flush, your cat leaps. It is a partnership. You are the strategist. The cat is the swift and silent weapon. Your son, who has been tasked with collecting the downed birds, looks at the cat with a hero worship normally reserved for great warriors. You suspect your cat isn't doing this out of some deep-seated desire for teamwork. It's doing it because a sky suddenly filled with flapping, squawking birds is its own personal slice of paradise. It is living its best life, and you get to reap the benefits. As the sun climbs higher, you pull your way back towards home. The skiff is heavy with the day's hunt. Your family's happy. And Nejim sits proudly at the prow, once more meticulously grooming its damp fur, looking for all the world like a conquering hero. It has proven its worth yet again, not just as a guardian of the home, but as a skilled partner in the wild. This bond forged in the thrill of the hunt makes the cat more than just a pet. It is a comrade. And the loss of such a companion is a profound blow, one that will soon require its own set of deep and solemn rituals. That lethal skill, that vibrant life force you embody, is precisely what makes your presence so cherished. Your days as Nejim are a long golden string of sun-warmed naps, of triumphant hunts of purrs that rumble through the quiet house, and of soft affections exchanged with your giant human family. But the very thing that makes life so precious is its fragility. Every string, no matter how golden, has an end. And so after many years of ruling your small kingdom, from sunny spots and cushioned stools, your time comes. Your vibrant presence finally peacefully fades from the household. The silence you leave behind is immense. The love your family felt for you in life now transforms into a grief that is profound, public, and governed by ancient, sacred rituals. Your family finds you in your favorite sleeping spot, curled as if in a deep nap, but with a stillness that signals the truth. There is no loud wailing, not at first, just a heavy, somber quiet that settles over the home. The children who have never known a life without you are hushed and wide-eyed. Your human mother gently strokes your soft fur, her face a mask of sorrow. The small routines of the day are shattered. There is no need to put out a bowl of milk, no one to trip over in the dark, no soft weight jumping onto the bed just before dawn. Your absence is a hollow ache in the heart of the home. For your family, this is not the inconvenient death of a mere animal. It is the loss of a family member, a guardian spirit, a tiny vessel of the divine. And in your culture, such a loss demands a formal expression. It requires a visible public sign of mourning that tells the entire community of their sorrow. So they perform an act that to outsiders would seem bizarre, but to every Egyptian is a profound and instantly understood statement of grief. They shave their eyebrows. You watch a silent observer from a place beyond seeing as the entire family gathers. The father takes a small, sharp bronze blade. One by one, from the mother down to the oldest child, they sit before him, and he carefully shaves away their eyebrows until the skin is smooth. The act is solemn and deliberate. There are no tears now, just a focused sense of ritual. The hair, a symbol of life and vitality, is removed as a sacrifice of their own beauty in honor of yours. For weeks to come, they will carry this mark on their faces. They will walk through the market, attend to their duties, and meet with their neighbors, and their bare brows will speak for them. They will announce to the world without a single word, we are in mourning. We have lost our beloved cat. This visible tribute is a heavy commitment. The mourning period is not a set number of days, but is dictated by nature itself. It lasts for as long as it takes for their eyebrows to grow back. For weeks, they will wear their grief on their faces, a constant living memorial to you. It is a strange tribute, perhaps, leaving them all with perpetually surprised expressions, but it is a deeply sincere one. Historians reading the accounts of Greek travelers still argue about the universality of this practice. Was shaving the eyebrows a custom for every family and every single cat that died? Or was it a ritual reserved for particularly cherished pets like you? Or perhaps only for wealthier households that could afford such a public and lengthy display of grief? Looking at the genuine sorrow on your family's faces, it feels less like an obligation and more like a deep, heartfelt need. The shaved eyebrows are the most dramatic sign, but not the only one. The family might also abstain from certain foods or pleasures, a small fast in your honor. In the evenings, you can hear your human mother humming a low, sad tune, a personal lament for her sweet Nejum. They handle your earthly remains with the utmost care. They wash your body and wrap it gently in clean linen strips, just as they would for a human relative. They might tuck a few of your favorite things inside the wrappings, a single smooth river stone you used to bat across the floor, or perhaps even the old leather collar you wore for so many years. They remember the day the doctor came and saved you a small miracle that granted them more time with you. They even miss the gruesome little gifts you used to leave for them, understanding now that they were tokens of your fierce protective love. In any other land, this level of mourning for an animal would be seen as madness. But here in the land of the Nile, it is simply right. It is proper. It is the correct response to losing a creature that was a hunter, a companion, a protector, and a tiny spark of the divine all at once. Their grief is a measure of the joy you brought them. And as they finish preparing your body, their thoughts turn from the sorrow of your loss to the hope of your journey. Their duty to you is not over. They must now ensure that you have everything you need to navigate the perils of the underworld and find your way to eternal paradise. Your family's public display of grief, their shaved eyebrows and quiet sorrow, is the first part of their final duty to you. The second part is far more practical, and it is all for your benefit. They believe that your life is not truly over. Your K, the essential life force, and your Bay, the part of your soul that is your unique personality, have separated from your physical body. For you to live on for eternity in the paradise known as the Field of Reeds, your Kea and Bea must be able to recognize your body. And so with the same love and care they showed you in life, they begin to prepare you for your great journey through the underworld. This is not the hurried mass-produced mummification of the votive cats you saw at the temple. This is a personal, artisanal act of preservation. Your family lays your body out on a clean board. They pack it with natron and natural salt harvested from the dry lake beds, which will gently draw out all the moisture and prevent decay. They leave you in this salt bed for many days in a cool, dry room, the air thick with the scent of spices and resins they burn to purify the space. When the process is complete, your form is lighter, drier, but still perfectly you. They wash you one last time with precious oils, your fur now stiff and fragrant, and then they begin the wrapping. Strip by strip, they wind the clean linen bandages around you, starting with your paws and your head until you are a neat, tight bundle. It is a slow, meditative process, a final act of cradling and care. As they wrap, they might whisper prayers and fond remembrances, tucking a small protective amulet between the folds of the cloth. Once you are fully encased, they must find a suitable container. For the wealthiest of cats, this could be a custom-made sarcophagus of bronze or even stone. A stunning piece of art in its own right, sometimes cast in your exact seated image, a miniature version of a human's coffin. Your family, being of more modest means, acquires a handsome wooden box, carefully joined and smoothed. On the lid, the father of the family painstakingly paints your likeness, a seated cat, with a fine leather collar, your eyes wide and watchful. You are now ready for burial. They carry your small coffin to the family tomb, or perhaps to a special animal cemetery on the edge of the village. But they do not place you in the ground alone. Like any important Egyptian heading into the afterlife, you need provisions. This is where their belief in your continued existence is made beautifully, tangibly clear. They place a small clay bowl next to your coffin, the one you always drank your milk from. In another bowl, they place a few dried fish. They might even include a few mummified mice prepackaged snacks to keep your hunter's spirit satisfied on the long road ahead. In the most loving of gestures, they might even place a tiny, crudely carved wooden figure near you, a feline shapti show, a magical servant meant to answer for you if any gods require you to do work in the afterlife. You are not expected to lift a paw in paradise. And then your journey begins. As your family seals the tomb and walks away, their eyebrows just beginning to show the first hint of stubble, your Ba soul awakens. You find yourself in a strange, shadowy version of the world you knew, the Egyptian underworld, or Duat. The path ahead is fraught with perils, gates guarded by fearsome demons, rivers of fire, and monstrous serpents. But you are not an ordinary soul. You are a cat. The very things that made you sacred in the world of the living now grant you special passage here. The demons at the gates look upon you and see not a helpless spirit but a child of Bastet, and they let you pass. Your hunter's instincts, honed over a lifetime, allow you to navigate the twisting paths and sense danger before it appears. You are, after all, on a first-name basis with the management's daughter. Egyptologists still argue about the precise metaphysical status of your soul on this journey. Did your people believe you had your own independent Kai and Bei, just like a human destined for your own individual eternity? Or was your spirit ultimately destined to be reabsorbed into the great collective essence of the goddess Bastet, your life force returning to its divine source? As you pad silently through the twilight of the Duat, the question seems academic. You feel like yourself like Nejum and you are moving towards a destination. Finally, after passing all the trials, you arrive. You emerge into a place of impossible peace and beauty. This is the field of reeds. It is a perfect, idealized Egypt. The sun is always warm but never scorching. The Nile flows clear and gentle, and the reeds are full of an endless supply of birds and fish. The napping spots are premium, the air is soft, and every path is safe. Here you will live on, enjoying the best parts of your earthly existence for all time. You can hunt for the sheer joy of it, nap in a celestial sunbeam, and wait, because you know that one day the family who loved you so dearly, their faces now framed by fully regrown eyebrows, will complete their own journey and join you here in paradise forever. You are safe. Your spirit Nejum has reached the eternal paradise of the field of reeds, a place of perfect peace and premium napping spots. But back in the world of the living, your story is not quite over. Your family has one final act of love to perform, one last way to ensure your memory and your very essence is preserved forever. They are going to make you a permanent part of their own journey into eternity. To see it, we must leave the sun-drenched fields of the afterlife and step into the cool, silent darkness of their tomb. Imagine yourself there now, centuries later, an explorer or an observer descending a steep stone staircase into the earth. The air changes, growing cool and still thick with the dry, clean scent of dust and ages. Your light, be it a flickering torch or a modern beam, pushes back the darkness that has held its breath for 3 millennia. The silence is absolute, and as the light washes over the walls, they explode into color. This is not a grave, it is a house of eternity, and its walls are a vibrant, detailed instruction manual for the afterlife, depicting the perfect version of the life the owners wish to lead forever. You see the tomb's owner, a high official, and his beautiful wife, their skin painted in the traditional shades of ruddy brown and pale ochre. They are dressed in fine pleated white linen, their eyes outlined in bold kohl. You see walls depicting bountiful harvests, scenes of them worshiping the gods, and detailed lists of all the food and drink they will require for eternity. And then you see it. The centerpiece of the main wall is a grand banquet scene. The official and his wife are seated on elegant, lion-legged chairs before a table, groaning with offerings, loaves of bread, roasted ducks, figs, dates, and jars of wine and beer. Your eyes drift downwards below the table, and there you find a familiar figure. There beneath the elegant chair of the noblewoman sits a cat. It is you, Nejum, immortalized in pigment and plaster. The artist has captured you perfectly, a sleek ginger tabby with subtle stripes. You are not just a generic symbol, you are an individual portrait. You are wearing the fine leather collar your family gave you, and a servant is shown tossing you a glistening fish head from the banquet table which you are chewing on with regal concentration. Some things, it seems, are eternal. Look closer at the details. The artist has taken special care with your eyes. Instead of just painting them, they have added a tiny raised dot of white plaster right in the center of each pupil. It's a subtle trick, but as your light moves across the wall, this tiny point catches it, creating a flash of reflected light. It gives your painted eyes a startlingly lifelike, luminous quality, perfectly capturing that uncanny glow a real cat's eyes have in the half-light. It's a touch of artistic genius, a nod to your mysterious and divine nature. Your placement in the scene is deeply significant. Art historians still argue about the precise symbolism of the cat's position under the chair. Does placing you, Nejum, specifically under the wife's chair connect you to the feminine principle, to the goddesses Bastet and Hathor, patrons of joy music and domestic bliss? Or is it a simple, charming slice of life, a candid snapshot that reveals that you, like most cats, simply preferred the company and generous hand of the mistress of the house? Perhaps the answer is both. You are a symbol of her feminine grace in a portrait of her favorite companion. This banquet scene is the most common way you are depicted, the ultimate symbol of domestic peace and belonging. But it is not the only one. In other tombs, you are shown in more active roles. You might be portrayed as a fierce hunter catching a large bird in a papyrus thicket, a scene that celebrates the untamed, skillful core that your family so respected. These varied poses show that you were loved for all your facets, the calm, purring companion and the lethal, efficient predator. But the most important thing to understand is that for your family, this painting is not merely a sentimental decoration. In the Egyptian mind, to depict something on a tomb wall was to give it reality in the afterlife. This painting is a magical engine. It ensures that the food on the table will be eternally available, that the couple will be forever young and beautiful, and most importantly, that you will be there with them. By painting you into their perfect eternal life, your family has guaranteed your reunion. They have made sure that when they finally arrive in the field of reeds, you will be there waiting for them under their chair, ready for your share of the everlasting feast. It is the most permanent and powerful expression of their love, a promise written in paint that death itself cannot break. Your chill life was not just for your time on earth. They have made sure it will last for all eternity. The image of you, Nejim, immortalized in paint beneath your mistress's chair, is a testament to your personal, familial importance. But your significance in the Egyptian mind stretches far beyond the cozy confines of the home. To truly understand why you, a small domestic animal, were so deeply revered, we have to look at your extended family. You are part of a lineage that includes not just other house cats, but also the most powerful and majestic predator your people have ever known, the lion. Your chill life is lived in the shadow of your larger royal cousins, and their power reflects directly onto you. Step back from the intimate banquet scene in the tomb and look at the grander art that adorns the great temples and royal monuments. Here, the feline form you see is not the gentle companion, but the king of beasts. The lion is the ultimate Egyptian symbol of power, ferocity, and royalty. In the past, these magnificent creatures roamed the desert edges of your land, their terrifying roar echoing in the night. Now, as your civilization has expanded, they have become rarer, more remote, which only adds to their mystique. They are the embodiment of untamable strength and regal authority, everything a pharaoh aspires to be. This connection is made explicit in the most iconic of all Egyptian monuments, the Sphinx. Imagine standing before the great statue at Giza. You see the massive reclining body of a lion, its muscles tense, its paws extended, a picture of latent, monumental power. But where the lion's head should be, you see the calm, intelligent face of the king wearing the royal headdress. It's the ultimate fusion of might and mind. It's a message written in thousands of tons of stone that says the pharaoh possesses both the divine wisdom of a human ruler and the terrifying physical power of the greatest predator. The king is a lion. And for some pharaohs, this was not just a metaphor. You see incredible scenes carved into temple walls depicting kings like Ramesses the Great riding into battle. And running alongside his thundering chariot, you don't see a dog but a full-grown pet lion, its teeth bared as it charges toward the enemy. This isn't just a symbol, it's a living weapon, a terrifying piece of royal propaganda, and a very real companion. This practice, keeping a lion as a royal pet, blurs the line between the symbolic and the actual. It solidifies the idea that the feline spirit in its grandest form is the true partner of kings. This powerful feline essence also flows through the veins of the gods. You've already met Bastet, the gentle cat-headed goddess of your home, but her power has a dark and terrifying twin, a goddess named Sekhmet. Sekhmet has the head of a lioness, not a cat. She is the goddess of war, of pestilence, of divine retribution. She is the scorching, destructive heat of the sun, the eye of Ra sent to punish humanity when they displease the gods. Where Bastet represents joy and domestic bliss, Sekhmet represents fury and annihilation. She is the wild, untamable, and terrifying aspect of feline power. This duality is at the heart of your people's understanding of the world, and it leads to a fascinating theological question. Historians still argue whether the fierce Sekhmet and the gentle Bastet were seen as two entirely different deities or as two faces, the yin and yang of the same divine feminine feline power. Was Bastet simply what happened when Sekhmet's rage was pacified? Could the goddess of destruction be soothed with music and offerings until she transformed into the goddess of joy? The answer seems to be a fluid yes. They are two sides of the same divine coin, a spectrum of feline power ranging from the world-ending roar of the lioness to the contented purr of the house cat. And this is the key to your own elevated status. When your human family looks at you, Nejum, they don't just see a small, useful pest controller. They see the entire symbolic lineage in miniature. They see the lion's strength, the pharaoh's majesty, and the goddess's dual nature all scaled down and peacefully napping on a papyrus mat. Your independence and your sudden bursts of playful violence are tiny echoes of Sekhmet's fire. Your regal calm and the discerning look in your eyes are a small reflection of the Sphinx's royal authority. It explains that look you sometimes give your giants, that serene, slightly judgmental stare that says, I am descended from kings and goddesses. You may now fetch me the fish. You are the accessible version of this ultimate power. Nobody can cuddle a sphinx. Petting a battle lion is generally not recommended, and inviting Sekhmet over for dinner is a recipe for disaster. But you, the domestic cat, allow your people to have a direct physical and safe connection to this entire complex of royal and divine power. You are their house lion, their personal sphinx, their tamed and lovable piece of the goddess. Your chill life is made possible because you carry the symbolic weight of your entire awe-inspiring family, from the mightiest lion to the smallest kitten. You are a little cat, but you contain multitudes. You see your little house cat, your Nejum, as a miniature lion, a tiny spark of divine and royal power condensed into a purring, peaceable form. This view, held by your entire civilization, hinges on the belief that the cat is a bridge between the wild world and the domestic one. But this raises a fascinating question, one that historians and biologists still wrestle with today. Just how far across that bridge did the cat ever come? Was it ever truly domesticated? This is the great debate of the Egyptian cat. Historians still argue whether your beloved feline companion was ever truly domesticated in the way we understand the term, or if it was merely tamed, or perhaps it was something else entirely, a unique partnership that defies our neat modern categories. Think about the other animals in your life: the cattle that pull the plow, the sheep that provide your wool, the dogs that guard your property. These animals have been fundamentally changed by their association with you. Over generations, you have selectively bred them for docility, for strength, for milk production, for obedience. Their very forms have been altered to suit your needs. They are dependent on you for survival. They are domesticated. Now look at your cat. You watch it as it moves through your house with a serene and absolute self-possession. It obeys no commands. It comes and goes as it pleases. It can and does find its own food. If you were to vanish tomorrow, your dog might be lost, but your cat, after a brief period of indignation, would simply shrug, stretch, and get on with the business of being a cat. This profound independence is the heart of the debate. Did you ever really domesticate the cat, or did it simply agree to move in? The physical evidence is startling. If you were to look at the skeleton of a mummified cat from a wealthy tomb and compare it to the skeleton of its wild ancestor, the Felis sylvestris libica that still roams the desert, you would be hard-pressed to tell them apart. Their body plan, their size, their teeth, their very structure is nearly identical. There is no dramatic shift like the one that separates a wolf from a pug. Your Egyptian house cat is, for all intents and purposes, a wild cat with a better attitude and more reliable meal service. Archaeologists have a notoriously difficult time distinguishing a wildcat mummy from a domestic one, unless, of course, the domestic one was buried with a tiny personalized coffin and some snacks for the afterlife. The real changes, the ones that mark the slow drift from wild to domestic, are more subtle. They are written not so much in bone, but in behavior and in genes. Modern science has found that the primary genetic differences between wildcats and domestic cats are in areas related to memory, fear, and reward seeking. Essentially, over many generations, the cats that were slightly less terrified of humans and slightly more motivated by the reward of a fish head were the ones that thrived in your villages and towns. They weren't bred by you in pens. They selected themselves. They looked at the world you were building with its cozy homes and its granaries overflowing with rodents, and they saw a golden opportunity. In a very real sense, the cat domesticated itself. You can see some of the subtle byproducts of this process in their fur. The wildcat has one basic coat pattern, a faint mackerel-striped tabby that serves as perfect camouflage. But as they began living with you, new and more conspicuous patterns emerged. The classic blotchy tabby, a pattern never seen in the wild, is a true genetic marker of domestication, a sign that the cat no longer needs to hide from predators or prey with the same desperate urgency. Its safety is now underwritten by its association with you. So what you have is not a creature that has been broken and remade in your image. Instead, you have a wild animal that has entered into a strategic alliance. You get a beautiful, affectionate, and supremely efficient pest controller. The cat gets safety shelter and a steady food supply that supplements its own hunting. It's less a relationship of master and servant and more one of landlord and a very well-armed tenant. It's a perfect symbiotic loop. This is why you respect its independence. You understand on a deep cultural level that its wildness is precisely what makes it valuable. You never tried to breed the hunter out of it. You worshipped it. You celebrated its lethal grace. You loved it not for its obedience, but for its proud, untamable spirit. Your little Neja may purr on your lap and enjoy a good ear scratching, but the heart of a desert hunter still beats within its chest. It is a creature that walks on the very edge of the wild world, with one paw in your house and three paws firmly planted in its own mysterious kingdom. It is not your possession. It is your partner, a fellow traveler, who has agreed to share your journey for a time because the terms of the deal are for both of you simply too good to refuse. That unique semi-wild spirit of the cat, the quality that makes it your partner, rather than your possession, is something you and your people have cherished for centuries. You have built a society that honors this independence, wrapping the cat in layers of love, art, law, and divine worship. Your reverence for this creature is a deep and unshakable pillar of your culture. But what happens when an enemy, a clever and ruthless enemy, decides to turn your greatest strength into your most fatal weakness? What happens when your deepest faith is used against you as the ultimate weapon? To find out, you must now leave the peace of the household and travel to the year 525 BC. You are no longer a modern observer or a cat or a pilgrim. You are a soldier in the army of the pharaoh, and you are standing on the sun-baked mud brick battlements of the fortress city of Pelusium. This fortress is the eastern gateway to your nation, the lock on the door to the Nile Delta. Before you, stretching out across the dusty plain, is the invading army of the great Persian Empire, led by their king Cambyses II. The air is thick with tension, the smell of dust and sweat, and the low rumbling sound of an approaching army. You grip your spear, your shield heavy on your arm. You are afraid, but you are also proud, ready to defend your home from these foreign invaders. The Persian army advances. Their archers and infantry move forward with disciplined precision. Your commanders shout orders, your own archers knock their arrows, and you brace yourself for the coming onslaught. It seems like a conventional battle, a straightforward clash of bronze and bravery. But as the Persian front line draws closer, you notice something strange. The soldiers at the very front are not carrying large shields or siege ladders. They seem to be carrying something else. You squint, the desert sun glinting in your eyes, and then you see it. A wave of confusion followed by cold, soul-crushing horror washes over you. The man marching directly towards your section of the wall is holding a cat. He has it clutched to his chest like a living shield. And the man next to him is holding one too. And the man next to him, the entire front rank of the Persian army is a wall of animals. You see dozens, hundreds of them, the familiar forms of the cats. You adore their eyes wide with fear, their meows lost in the din of war. Your mind struggles to process what you are seeing. It is a sacrilege so profound, so unthinkable, that it feels like a nightmare. And it's not just cats. Looking along the line, you see other animals you hold sacred. A soldier holds a struggling sheep, an animal sacred to the god Khnum. Another has an ibis, the holy bird of Thoth, the god of wisdom. The Persians have done their research. Cambyses has gathered up a living collection of your gods, a menagerie of divine vessels, and he is marching them into battle against you. Your arm, which was tense and ready to hurl a spear, suddenly feels impossibly heavy. The archer next to you, his arrow drawn back to his ear, lowers his bow, his face pale with disbelief. How can you fight? How can you loose an arrow or throw a spear when it might strike a cat? You remember the law, the one you've known since you were a child. The penalty for killing a cat is death. It's not just the pharaoh's law, but the law of the gods. To kill one of these creatures, even by accident, in the chaos of battle is to condemn your own soul to eternal damnation. Your hand is stayed by 1,000 years of reverence. Your weapon is useless. The greatest strength of your culture has, in an instant, been turned into a paralyzing weakness. For centuries after this day, historians will argue about the literal truth of this account. Was it a factual report of a brilliant, cynical military strategy, a masterclass in psychological warfare? Or was it a story invented later by Greek writers to portray the Persians as cruel, sacrilegious barbarians, capable of any profane act to achieve victory? Standing on this wall, watching this blasphemous shield wall advance, you do not have the luxury of academic debate. It feels terrifyingly, profanely real. The battle, if you can call it that, is a catastrophe. The Persian army marches up to the walls of Pelusium completely unopposed. Your lines are frozen, your soldiers unwilling to commit an act of sacrilege. The Persians are not just attacking a fortress. They are attacking your piety. They are using your own faith to dismantle your defenses. You watch as they place ladders against the walls, your comrades beside you seemingly paralyzed, unable to fight back against soldiers holding their gods hostage. The gates of Pelusium are breached not by a battering ram, but by a procession of terrified cats. The enemy floods into the fortress, and the physical battle begins only when it is far too late. The loss is a foregone conclusion. Your army is defeated not by superior numbers or better weapons, but by a brilliant, cruel, and unforgivable tactic that struck at the very heart of your identity. Your love for the chill, sacred life of the cat has just cost you your kingdom. Let us leave the smoking ruins of Pelusium, the clash of empires, and the cynical use of faith as a weapon of war. That terrible event, though historically pivotal, was a violent aberration. It was one day. The true story of your kind is not found in a single battle, but in the millions of peaceful, ordinary days that came before and after. So let us retreat from the grand, bloody stage of history and slip back into the quiet, sun-drenched timelessness of a typical Egyptian home. Let us return to you, Nejm, and follow the simple, sacred rhythm of your daily life. Your day begins not with an alarm, but with a subtle shift in the light. A pale pre-dawn glow begins to illuminate the eastern sky, filtering through a high window and painting a soft gray bar on the opposite wall. You awaken not all at once, but in a slow, luxurious unfurling. You stretch first one set of legs, then the other, arching your back into a perfect curve, a morning yoga pose you have perfected over a lifetime. Your first official act of the day is to inform the giants that their service is required. You hop silently onto the sleeping platform of your human parents and emit a low rumbling meow, a sound calibrated to be precisely annoying enough to wake them without causing genuine alarm. Your food bowl, you see, has been tragically empty for several hours, and this oversight must be corrected. Breakfast is a satisfying affair. A splash of rich goat's milk in a clay bowl, a few morsels of fish, left over from the previous night's meal. You eat with delicate precision, your collar occasionally clinking against the bowl. With your immediate needs met, the most serious business of the day can begin the scientific selection of a napping spot. This is an art form of which you are a grandmaster. The sun is still low, so you seek out the first warm patch of light, hitting the floor of the central courtyard. Egyptian houses like yours are architectural marvels of climate control. Their thick mud brick walls absorb the heat, keeping the interiors cool, and their layout is designed to create a complex shifting landscape of sun and shade throughout the day. Your task is to follow this shifting landscape, a pilgrim on a sacred quest for the perfect nap. As the sun climbs higher, the stone floor of the courtyard becomes too hot. You abandon your post and pad inside, seeking the cool interior. Here your humans have employed a clever trick against the oppressive heat. A heavy reed mat hanging in a doorway has been soaked in water, and as the dry air passes through it, it creates a cool, humid breeze. You settle near this ingenious device, enjoying the pleasant dampness on your fur. In the corner of the room is a curious object, a low-carved limestone platform slightly hollowed out in the middle. Centuries from now, archaeologists will find such objects and debate their function. Were they ritual stands for statues or offering tables? But you know its true purpose. It is the official napping throne, cool to the touch and elevated just enough to give you a commanding view of your domain. You hop onto it for your main midday slumber. You are awakened in the afternoon by the sounds of the children. You tolerate their affections on your own terms. A gentle stroking along your back is acceptable. An attempt to grab your tail is met with a swift educational retreat. Sometimes they will dangle a frayed piece of twine for you, and you will indulge them your paws, a blur of playful batting, your hunter's instinct momentarily channeled into a harmless game. After they tire of this, you engage in the second most important ritual of your day, a meticulous grooming session. Every inch of fur must be put in its proper place. This is not just about cleanliness, it is about maintaining your dignity and perfection. As evening approaches, the house fills with the smell of cooking, baking bread, roasting onions, perhaps some lentils, stewing with herbs. The family gathers for their evening meal. You, of course, take up your strategic position. You settle on the floor near the chair of your favorite human, close enough to be admired and to receive the occasional scratch behind the ears, but with a clear and unobstructed view of the table. You feign sleep, but one ear is always swiveled toward the sound of eating, alert to the possibility of a dropped morsel of chicken or fish. Your presence here is a comfort to them, a living echo of the thousands of tomb paintings depicting this very scene, a promise of domestic harmony. When night falls, a different part of you awakens. The giants light a few small flickering oil lamps, which cast long dancing shadows on the walls. The house grows quiet. While your human family sleeps, you become the guardian of the night. You patrol the perimeter of your home, a silent, ghostly shape in the moonlight. Your eyes, now wide and luminous, can see into the deepest shadows. This is when the desert's other creatures are most active. You might encounter a scorpion skittering across the floor and dispatch it with a single, swift paw slap. You are the protector of the threshold, the warden of the sleeping house, a furry little barrier against the chaos of the night. Finally, your patrol complete, you seek out your final sleeping spot. You leap silently onto the foot of a bed, kneading the blankets with your paws before circling 3 times and collapsing into a soft purring heap. You have completed one more perfect, peaceful day. You have been worshipped, fed, admired, and useful. You have hunted, played, napped, and guarded. It is a simple life, a chill life, but it is a life of absolute purpose and contentment, repeated day after day in a timeless rhythm of sun and shadow. That peaceful, ordinary day you just lived as Nejum the house cat was governed by simple creaturely needs: food, warmth, safety, and affection. But if you look closer at the quiet rhythms of the household, a distinct pattern emerges. You notice who fills your bowl in the morning, who is most likely to share a piece of fish, whose lap is the softest and most welcoming. While the man of the house is away at his duties as a scribe, a soldier, a farmer, it is the mistress of the house, her daughters and her servants, who are the keepers of your domestic world. It is no coincidence. Your very essence in the mind of the Egyptian is profoundly and inextricably linked to the power of womanhood. You need only to look back at the art to see the proof. Remember those tomb paintings in scene after scene? Where is the cat not sitting at the feet of the great male official, the master of the estate? No, you are curled gracefully beneath the chair of his wife. This placement is no accident. It is a deliberate symbolic statement, a visual confirmation of the bond between the feline and the feminine. In you, the Egyptians saw a reflection of the ideal woman, graceful, elegant, and serene, yet also fiercely protective of her children and her home. You are mysterious, self-possessed, and nurturing all at once. This connection finds its ultimate expression in your patron goddess Bastet. As her worship evolved from the fierce lioness to the gentle domestic cat, she became one of the most important divine protectors of women in the entire pantheon. Her domain was the home, fertility, music, joy, and most critically, childbirth. You can imagine a young expectant mother in your human family, her hand resting on her swollen belly. She whispers a prayer not to a great male god, but to Bastet. She might wear a special amulet, not just of a cat, but of a mother cat suckling a full litter of tiny kittens, a potent visual plea for a safe delivery and a healthy family. The purring, fertile creature in her own home is a living, breathing good luck charm, a direct line to the goddess who watches over all mothers. You see this connection celebrated in the joyous, noisy rituals at the temple. Picture the priestesses, some of the most powerful and respected women in the land, leading a festival in honor of Bastet, or the goddess Hathor, another great feminine deity. In their hands, they hold the sistrum, a sacred rattle. Its handle is often carved with the face of the goddess, and as the women shake it, metal discs on crossbars create a loud rustling, jingling sound. It's a sound of pure joy, meant to appease the gods and drive away evil spirits. And if you look closely at the top of the sistrum's frame, you will often see the unmistakable figures of one or two cats seated proudly overseeing the joyful noise. Cats, music, women, and religious power all linked together in one sacred celebratory object. Your nature is seen as the perfect model for the dual role of the Egyptian woman as the mistress of a household. On the one hand, you are the gentle nurturer. Your people have watched countless mother cats amazed at their boundless patience and tenderness as they groom, feed, and teach their clumsy kittens. You are the embodiment of contented domestic bliss, the soft purr at the heart of the home. This is the aspect of Bastet that brings peace and promotes fertility. But your family has also seen your other side. They have seen you transform from a sleepy pet into a silent, deadly hunter to protect the household from a snake or a scorpion. They know that beneath your soft exterior lies a spirit of pure, protective fury that will not hesitate to face down any threat to your kittens or your chosen family. This is the echo of the lioness, the hint of the goddess Sekhmet that still resides within Bastet. The ideal woman like you was expected to be both a gentle, loving mother and a fierce, capable guardian of her domain. Sociologists and Egyptologists still argue about the extent to which your revered status as a cat reflected the social standing of women in Egyptian society. Compared to other ancient cultures, Egyptian women enjoyed a relatively high degree of freedom and authority. They could own property, run businesses, and inherit wealth. Did this progressive social reality create a culture where a female-coded animal like you could be so deeply honored, or did the powerful cult of female goddesses like Isis, Hathor, and Bastet help to elevate the status of both women and their feline counterparts? The truth is likely a complex interplay of both. Your power and the power of women grew together, each reflecting and reinforcing the other. The cat understands the true domestic power structure after all. It knows that the mistress of the house is the true source of comfort and stability. And so your bond with the woman of the house is primary. You are her companion, her confidant, and her symbolic twin. You share a silent understanding. Your presence is a constant living reminder of the divine power that resides within the feminine, a power that can be both as gentle as a kitten's purr and as ferocious as a lioness's roar. Your profound connection to the feminine and the home finds its perfect divine expression in the goddess Bastet. She is the great feline matriarch, the celebrity cat goddess, whose worship spread throughout the land of the Nile. But to assume she is the only mythical feline prowling the Egyptian imagination would be to underestimate just how deeply the essence of your kind captivated their souls. The cat was such a potent symbol that it appeared in many forms across many myths, representing everything from the pinnacle of divine power to the darkest corners of the underworld. Let us delve deeper into the sacred texts, into the papyrus scrolls that map the treacherous landscape of the afterlife. Here you find the most powerful feline figure of them all, a form so significant it is assumed by the king of the gods himself. We have spoken of the great Tomchat of Heliopolis before, but let's truly appreciate the scene. You are looking at an illustration from the Book of the Dead. It depicts the darkest moment in the sun's nightly journey, when the great god Ra must face his eternal foe, the chaos serpent Apep, who tries to swallow the sun and plunge the universe into eternal darkness. In this critical universe-defining battle, Ra transforms. He becomes a muscular, handsome tomcat. There under the sacred Persei tree, the divine tree of life, you see him. One powerful paw pins the writhing serpent to the ground, while the other wields a sharp, gleaming knife poised to slice off the monster's head. This is no mere allegory. To your people, it is a literal depiction of a nightly cosmic event. The creature that naps on your floor is the chosen battle form of the most powerful god in existence at his most crucial moment. And it makes perfect sense. The Egyptians have all seen a real cat's breathtaking speed and courage when confronting a snake. That real-world display of predator versus prey is elevated into a cosmic principle. The cat is the natural enemy of serpentine chaos. Your daily hunts are a small earthly echo of Ra's eternal victory. But the divine feline family is larger still. If you look back to the earliest dynasties before Bastet's popularity soared, you find whispers of another cat-like goddess named Mafdet. She was a goddess of justice and a protector against venomous creatures. Her representative animals were often the cheetah or the leopard's swift and deadly hunters. Mafdet was the original divine vanquisher of snakes and scorpions. As time went on and the domestic cat became more beloved, the gentler and more personable Bastet slowly absorbed Mafdet's portfolio. It's a classic case of divine corporate restructuring. The more popular goddess took over the duties of the older one, but the core idea, a powerful feline female as a protector from venom, remained. Not all mythical cats were so benevolent. In the darker parts of the underworld, in the halls of judgment, where the souls of the wicked face their punishment, you hear of another more terrifying feline form. Some texts speak of a demonic cat, sometimes called the matit, or matted cat, which acts as a punisher of the damned. This creature is not a righteous warrior like Ra or a protector like Bastet. It is an embodiment of the cat's cold, remorseless, predatory instinct. It is the dark side of the hunter, the terrifying shadow that rips and tears not for cosmic balance, but for the sheer, brutal act of it. This shows the Egyptians' nuanced understanding of you. They saw the gentle companion in the divine protector, but they also acknowledged the immoral, terrifying killer that resided within the same sleek form. This variety of feline figures, from the king of the gods to a demon in the underworld, raises a question for modern scholars. Mythologists still argue whether these varied feline gods and demons were distinct local deities that were later absorbed into the main pantheon, or if they were always intended as specific aspects or avatars of the primary gods like Ra and Bastet. Perhaps each major town once had its own cat god, and as Egypt became unified, these myths were stitched together into the grand and sometimes contradictory tapestry of the national religion. Even the very structure of the cosmos is guarded by your larger cousins. In some creation myths, the first divine pair, Shu and Tefnut, take the form of two lions. They sit back to back at the eastern and western horizons, guarding the path of the sun as it enters and exits the world each day. The entire celestial order, the rising and setting of the sun, is overseen by a pair of lions. So you see, the cat is everywhere. It is in the sun God's heroic transformation, in the foundation of the cosmos, in the punishing demons of the underworld, and in the loving embrace of the goddess of joy. The feline form was a vessel for nearly every kind of concept the Egyptians could imagine: creation, protection, destruction, order, chaos, justice, and damnation. It is this deep mythical embedding that makes the reverence for your species so absolute. You are not just a cute pet. You are a walking, purring library of theological possibilities. The mythical status of your species, embedded in the very fabric of the cosmos by your Egyptian admirers, has an unintended and very worldly consequence. When a culture elevates an animal to the level of a god, when its image is carved into temples and its spirit is said to guard the sun, it ceases to be just an animal. It becomes a treasure. And when you declare that this living, purring, self-replicating treasure is a national secret protected by law and forbidden to all outsiders, you don't stop people from wanting it. You make it the most desirable luxury good in the entire ancient world. The strict export ban designed to protect you is about to backfire spectacularly. Picture yourself at a bustling port on the Nile Delta. The air is a chaotic symphony of smells, spices, from the East olive oil, from Crete cedarwood, from Lebanon, and the salty tang of the Mediterranean Sea. The docks are a babble of languages as Greek, Phoenician, and Egyptian traders haggle over cargo. These foreign merchants are sharp-eyed and opportunistic. They have spent weeks or months in your country, and they have seen the impossible. They have seen a society where cats are treated like princes, where a man might be killed by a mob for harming one. They have seen the beautiful bronze statues, the amulets, the paintings, and they have done the mental arithmetic. An object of such immense reverence has immense value. The pharaoh's law is absolute: no cats may leave Egypt. This law, as we've seen, is enforced by the threat of divine wrath and earthly punishment. But the laws of economics are just as powerful. The ban creates scarcity, and scarcity creates a black market. The foreign traders want a piece of the action. They see the practical value these sleek Egyptian hunters would be far more effective at clearing the rats from their ships and warehouses than the local weasels and ferrets. But more than that, they see the status symbol. For a wealthy merchant in Athens or a Roman patrician to own a genuine sacred cat from the mystical land of Egypt, it would be the ultimate conversation piece, a living piece of exotic art that confers instant sophistication. And so the great feline smuggling enterprise begins. Historians and economists still argue about the true scale of this illicit trade. Was it just a few high-profile cases of catnapping that were sensationalized by later writers? Or was it a significant organized black market that Egypt was largely powerless to stop? The truth likely lies somewhere in the middle, a constant nagging trickle of feline contraband flowing out of the kingdom. You can imagine the scenes playing out in the moonlit shadows of the docks. A Phoenician sailor makes a quiet deal with a local farmer, trading a fine amphora of wine for a wriggling sack containing a litter of kittens. They must be kept silent, hidden from the harbor guards who patrol the gangplanks. It's perhaps the most stressful smuggling operation in the ancient world. It's hard enough to hide inanimate objects, but try keeping a basket of indignant meowing kittens quiet during a random inspection. The most delicious irony of the export ban is the official response. The government, realizing its cats are being stolen, occasionally dispatches official agents to foreign ports. Their mission is not one of espionage or diplomacy. Their mission is to go to the foreign markets with chests of state-funded silver and buy back the very cats that were smuggled out. This policy is a spectacular failure of logic. The ban drives the price of Egyptian cats sky high on the international market, and now the Egyptian state is forced to pay those inflated prices to rescue its own stolen property. They have created a system where they are, in effect, subsidizing the smugglers who are breaking their own laws. Ultimately, despite all these efforts, the cat cannot be contained. Your kind is simply too good at survival, too charming, and too adaptable to be fenced in by a single nation, no matter how powerful. The ultimate proof that the export ban backfired is not written in any papyrus scroll, but in the genes of nearly every single house cat on the planet today. Modern geneticists tracing the lineage of the domestic cat have mapped its great migration. The trail begins here in Egypt. From the Nile Delta, it radiates outwards following the exact trade routes of the ancient world. Cats got onto Phoenician ships and sailed to Greece. They hitched a ride with Roman grain barges to Italy. From there, they spread throughout Europe, their descendants eventually crossing the Atlantic to the Americas. Every time a modern cat curls up on a windowsill in Rome, or stalks a mouse in a London alley, or purrs on a lap in Paris, it is living proof of the failure of the pharaoh's law. Egypt tried to hoard its greatest treasure to put a patent on its sacred purring predator. But the cat, being a cat, opted for an open-source model. It distributed itself globally. The reverence that made you so precious was the very thing that made you irresistible. And in their failed attempt to keep you all to themselves, the Egyptians accidentally gave their greatest, furriest gift to the rest of the world. Your journey out of Egypt was a quiet one, a slow, steady infiltration of the world on merchant ships and in the arms of smugglers. You, the Egyptian cat, went global. But as you spread, the memory of the sheer scale of your importance back in your homeland began to fade. The temples fell into ruin, the old gods were forgotten, and the catacombs were buried and lost beneath the shifting sands of time. For nearly 2,000 years, the true mind-boggling extent of your cult remained a secret. To uncover it, we must leap forward through the centuries. Let the Roman Empire rise and fall. Let the old language of hieroglyphs become an indecipherable mystery. Let the memory of Bastet fade into obscure myth. Now let the sands settle. The year is now in the late 1800s. You are not an ancient Egyptian soldier or a pilgrim. You are a European adventurer, an excavator caught up in the great Egyptology craze sweeping the Western world. You are in Egypt with a pickaxe and a dream, digging for forgotten tombs, for golden treasures, for a connection to the monumental past. You are working at a site far from the famous pyramids, a place called Beni Hassan. The sun is relentless, the work is grueling. Your local crew is digging into the side of a sandy bluff when one of them calls out. His shovel has hit not rock, but empty space. You rush over, and after a few moments of frantic digging, an opening is revealed, a dark maw leading into the earth. The air that puffs out is stale, dry, and smells of dust and eternity. With a flickering lantern held high, you crawl inside. You are not in a royal tomb filled with gold. You are in a chamber, a vast catacomb, and it is filled to the ceiling with cats. Not one or two, not a dozen, but thousands, tens of thousands. A seemingly endless solid mass of small, linen-wrapped bundles, each one a mummified cat packed so tightly together that they have become a kind of geological layer. Some are still beautifully preserved, their painted faces staring out at you from the darkness. Others have decayed into a brittle, dusty mass. You push deeper into another chamber and another. It is the same story, a city of the dead with a population made entirely of cats. You and your fellow excavators struggle to comprehend the sight. You have stumbled upon one of the great lost animal cemeteries of ancient Egypt. Archaeologists still argue about the exact purpose of these massive non-royal burial sites. Were they purely religious depositories, sacred ground, where pilgrims left their votive offerings, creating a physical library of prayers over the centuries? Or did they also serve a more practical, if still consecrated purpose, a form of ritual waste disposal for the vast temple-run catteries that bred cats specifically for the cult? As you stare at the sheer numbers, the industrial scale of it all, the second option seems terrifyingly plausible. But in this era, the 19th century, the historical and scientific value of such a find is not yet fully appreciated. You see not a sacred archive, but a problem of logistics. What do you do with hundreds of thousands of mummified cats? They are not golden masks or royal sarcophagi that can be sold to a museum for a fortune. To your contemporaries, they are a bulk commodity, and a rather peculiar one at that. And this is where the story takes a deeply strange and tragic turn. You hear of a plan, a scheme so lacking in sentiment, it is almost comical in its disrespect. A local contractor buys the rights to excavate the entire catacomb. He doesn't bring archaeologists, he brings laborers. They haul the mummies out by the ton, packing them into coarse sacks. You watch as some 180,000 mummified cats, the sacred prayers of a lost civilization, are hauled onto barges and floated down the Nile. Their destination is not a museum in Cairo or London. The ultimate indignity comes after a long sea voyage. The shipment, weighing some 19 tons, arrives at the port of Liverpool, England. There, these sacred artifacts are sold at auction, not to collectors, but to a company that processes them for a far more practical use. The mummies are put into a machine and ground into a fine dark powder. Their final purpose, after being preserved for 3,000 years, is to be sold as agricultural fertilizer. And so the sacred vessels of the goddess Bastet, the beloved companions of the pharaohs, the creatures so holy that your ancient counterparts would kill to protect them, ended their long journey sprinkled across the fields of England to improve the harvest of potatoes and grain. It is a strange and deeply ironic twist of fate. The creature that began its journey protecting the grain of the Nile ended it by nourishing the grain of a cold foreign land that had forgotten its name. Though it was a shocking end for these particular mummies, their discovery was the first time the modern world truly began to understand the sheer industrial scale of your ancient chill life. The tragic fate of those hundreds of thousands of mummies ground into dust to fertilize English fields was a profound loss. It was a final callous insult to the culture that so adored you, but many of your linen-wrapped brethren survived that era of careless discovery. Thousands of them found their way into museum collections in private hands around the world, where they sat on dusty shelves for decades, their secrets locked away. Now let us jump forward one last time to our own era. The pickaxe and the auction block have been replaced by the CT scanner and the DNA sequencer. We no longer have to destroy you to understand you. We can read you like a book. Imagine you are in a sterile, climate-controlled laboratory. The air hums with the quiet whir of expensive machinery. On a padded table before you lies a cat mummy. It is small, beautifully wrapped in geometric patterns, its painted face serene and inscrutable. A century ago, the only way to know what was inside would have been to unwrap it, a destructive and irreversible act. But you have better tools. With the gentle care usually reserved for a living patient, you place the mummy onto the sliding bed of a CT scanner, a large white donut-shaped machine that can see through time. You retreat to a control room, and on a high-resolution screen, a digital image appears. Layer by layer, the scanner peels back the ancient linen, revealing the secrets within without disturbing a single thread. It's the ultimate unboxing, a 3-7-year-old mystery about to be solved. And what you see is breathtaking. Inside the wrappings is a complete, perfectly articulated skeleton, a cat that died in its youth. You can zoom in, rotate the image, examine every tiny bone, and then you see it, the detail that finally confirms the grim reality of the votive cult. You see a clean dislocation in the cervical vertebrae. This kitten's neck was deliberately and expertly broken. This is the story that thousands of scans have now told us. A vast number of the mummified cats were not beloved pets who died of old age. They were young, typically between 2 and 4 months old, bred in massive temple-run catteries for one purpose: to be sacrificed, mummified, and sold as an offering to a pilgrim. It was a sacred industry, and the evidence on your screen confirms it was carried out with ruthless efficiency. The priests running these operations were not being cruel in their own minds. They were fulfilling a holy production quota, providing a vital link between the mortal and divine worlds. The next mummy you scan tells a different but equally fascinating story. The wrappings are just as elaborate, but as the digital image resolves, you see that inside there is no complete skeleton. There is just a single skull, a few leg bones, and a large amount of padding made from reeds and balled-up linen. You have just scientifically confirmed the ancient scam of the fake mummies, the desperate attempt by temple priests to keep up with an insatiable demand. But the secrets go deeper. On an especially well-preserved mummy, the high-resolution scan can distinguish not just bones, but the faint, ghostly outlines of desiccated soft tissue. You can sometimes even identify the contents of the cat's stomach, its final meal before its journey to the afterlife. You might expect to find the remains of some choice fish or milk-soaked bread befitting a pampered temple cat, but instead you find the tiny, delicate bones of a shrew or a mouse. This small, incredible detail tells you that this particular cat, right up until its end, was still a hunter. It may have lived within the temple walls, but it was still earning its own keep, its last act on Earth, a successful hunt. It's the ultimate cold case file, revealing a more complex reality than the simple idea of a pampered pet. By studying hundreds of these remains, a larger picture of feline health emerges, though paleopathologists still argue about the details. Were the cats in these temple catteries generally healthy, benefiting from the protection and reverence they were afforded? Or did the crowded conditions make them breeding grounds for epidemics? Some skeletons show evidence of healed fractures, suggesting a level of veterinary care. A bone that was broken and then set by a careful hand. Others show signs of malnutrition or arrested development, hinting at the pressures of industrial-scale breeding. This scientific evidence adds a crucial and sometimes somber layer to the story. The beautiful art and the heartfelt prayers tell us how the Egyptians wanted to see their cats. The mummies read by modern science tell us the reality of how many of them actually lived and died. They were a cherished species, but they were also a commodity. They were vessels of a goddess, but their lives were often cut short in her service. The scans don't diminish the depth of the Egyptians' reverence, but they reveal the complex and often contradictory ways in which that reverence was expressed. The scientific evidence locked within the mummies confirms what the art and texts have always suggested: the cult of the cat in ancient Egypt was an operation of almost unimaginable scale and devotion. For millennia, it was a central pillar of your culture, a fusion of industry, faith, and affection that seemed as permanent and as timeless as the Nile itself. The great temple at Bubastis thronged with pilgrims, the catacombs filled with millions of sacred messengers, and the law of the land protected you with lethal force. It seemed like it would last forever. But no age, no matter how golden, is eternal. The first cracks in this ancient foundation begin to appear with the arrival of new masters. In 30 BC, after the famous affair between Cleopatra and Mark Antony, your land ceases to be an independent kingdom and becomes a province of the Roman Empire. The change is not just one of rulers, but of worldview. The Romans are a practical, administrative people. They are masters of logistics, law, and military might. They look upon your society's relationship with animals with a mixture of fascination and condescending bemusement. The idea of a mob killing a Roman official for accidentally running over a cat is to them proof of your people's strange and volatile superstitions. They see a useful mouser, a pleasant pet, but they do not see a god. At first, the Romans are tolerant. They allow the old cults to continue understanding that it is easier to govern a populace whose religious beliefs are respected. But the subtle shift in power begins to take its toll. The great temples, which were once funded by the pharaoh's treasury, now find their subsidies cut. The priests at Bubastis have fewer resources. The industrial-scale mummification enterprise, which relied on a constant stream of devout paying pilgrims, begins to dwindle. The demand for sacred messengers slackens when the new masters of the world do not believe in the gods they are being sent to. The chill life of a temple cat becomes a little less luxurious, the offerings a little less grand. Then comes a second, more profound wave of change, a new religion that washes over the empire from the east. It is Christianity, and unlike the polytheistic tolerance of the Romans, this new faith is exclusive and absolute. It has one God, and he does not take the form of a cat. The old deities, Ra, Isis, Osiris, and your own beloved Bastet, are recast as demons or as empty idols of a misguided pagan past. The worship of animals is seen as a primitive and blasphemous practice. This ideological shift is eventually codified into law. In the 4th century AD, official edicts are passed by the Christian Roman emperors, banning all pagan sacrifices and ordering the closure of the old temples. The doors to the temple of Bastet are barred for the last time. The priestly chants fall silent. The sacred fires grow cold. The last of the temple cats, no longer icons but simply strays, wander out from the now desecrated halls into a world that no longer sees them as divine. You can feel the end of this entire 3,000-year-old tradition in a single lonely artifact. In the year 394 AD, at a temple on the island of Philae, a lone priest or pilgrim carves the last known hieroglyphic inscription. It is a final defiant prayer to the old gods etched into stone in the sacred script that only a handful of people can still read. After that silence, the knowledge of the ancient language dies out, and the voices of the old gods are muted for over 1,000 years. But did the reverence for you, the cat, vanish overnight? Historians still argue about how quickly these official changes filtered down to the general populace. Did the farmers in remote Nile villages immediately stop whispering a prayer to Bastet when their cat had a new litter of kittens? Or did the folk beliefs, the deep-seated affection and superstition, persist for centuries, hidden from the watchful eyes of the new religious authorities? It's likely that the love for the cat as a companion and a bringer of good fortune never truly died, but the formal, state-sanctioned worship was over. Your status in society is irrevocably altered. You have been demoted. You are no longer a walking, purring god, a national treasure protected by law. The legal and religious scaffolding that guaranteed your chill life has been dismantled. You are now once again simply a cat, a very useful, very beautiful, and in most homes still very much loved cat, but a mortal animal nonetheless. The cats themselves, of course, likely noticed very little change. Their non-negotiable demands for food, shelter, and sunny napping spots remain the same regardless of the dominant theological framework of their human companions. The great cult was dead. The temples were ruins, the gods were ghosts. But you, the cat, survived. The gods were forgotten, the temples crumbled, and the sacred language of hieroglyphs became a silent puzzle. The great civilization of ancient Egypt faded into history, leaving behind monumental ghosts of sandstone and granite. But one of its most precious creations did not fade. It did not need a temple to survive, nor a priest to sing its praises. It survived because it was adaptable, charming, and endlessly resourceful. The cat itself endured, and within every one of its tiny cells it carried a living record of its own history, a story that would lie dormant for millennia, waiting for a new kind of magic to read it. Let us step into one final laboratory, the cleanest and most modern of them all. There are no mummies on the table here, only tiny sterile tubes. You are a geneticist, and you are about to read a history book written not on papyrus, but in the elegant, spurling code of DNA. You have several samples. One is a fragment of bone carefully extracted from a cat mummy from Bubastis. Another is a hair from a stray cat living near the Colosseum in Rome. A third is from a pampered pet in London. And the final one is from a true wildcat, a Felis sylvestris libica, captured and released in the western desert of modern-day Egypt. Your goal is to compare their stories. You place the samples into a machine, a DNA sequencer, that translates the biological code into digital data. Lines of letters A, C, T, and G scroll across your screen. You focus on the mitochondrial DNA, a special part of the genome that is passed down directly from mother to child, an unbroken chain stretching back through time. You are looking at a family tree and you are about to discover its roots. The results, when they are finally compiled, are breathtakingly clear and unambiguous. The street cat from Rome, the pet from London, and the thousands of other domestic cats you have samples of from around the world are not distant separate cousins of the Egyptian mummy. They are its direct and almost unchanged descendants. The genetic timeline confirms the story we have been piecing together. It shows the first divergence from the wildcat happening around 10,000 years ago in the Fertile Crescent as the first farmers began storing grain. But the second and most significant event was the population explosion and global spread that radiated out from one place, Egypt. That charismatic, sociable, and supremely skilled hunter that you Egyptians admired and worshipped is the great ancestor of nearly every house cat on Earth. That export ban we talked about, the genetic evidence, is the final definitive proof that it failed spectacularly. You didn't just give the world a new pet, you gave the world the pet cat. But as you look closer at the code, you find more subtle stories. Geneticists still argue about the exact timing and location of a possible second wave of domestication. Did another group of wildcats, perhaps in Anatolia, contribute to the gene pool later on, adding new traits to the mix? Or does nearly every domestic cat trace its lineage exclusively back to those first feline opportunists who saw what your ancestors were building and decided to get in on the ground floor? The evidence so far points overwhelmingly back to the Nile. And the genes for appearance tell a fascinating story of their own. You analyze the code that determines coat patterns. A surprising fact emerges. Every single one of the ancient Egyptian mummies you analyze carries the gene for the striped mackerel tabby pattern. This makes perfect sense. It's the same pattern as their wild ancestor, the perfect camouflage for a desert hunter. The gene for the swirly, blotchy classic tabby, which is so common in cats today, is almost completely absent in ancient Egypt. That particular mutation, it seems, only became widespread, much later likely during the Middle Ages in the Ottoman Empire, and spread from there. So if you have a blotchy tabby cat at home, it's actually a more modern, fashionable upgrade on the original Egyptian model. It's a classic, but your cat is the new release. The pharaohs, in their quest for immortality, built tombs of stone and filled them with gold. They mummified their bodies and wrote their names on temple walls, hoping to be remembered for eternity. And they did succeed in a way, but they also achieved a far greater, more dynamic form of immortality without even realizing it. In nurturing and revering your species, they created a biological legacy that would outlast every stone in their kingdom. They failed to keep the cat as their own private treasure, but in doing so, they ensured it would conquer the world. Every time a cat today stalks a toy mouse across a living room floor, it is channeling the spirit of the hunter that guarded the pharaoh's grain. Every time it purrs on a lap, it is echoing the divine contentment of the sacred cats in the temple of Bastet. Every time it gazes at you with those deep, inscrutable eyes, it is looking at you with the face of a creature that has been our partner for 10,000 years. Its DNA is a living scroll, a whisker in time that connects our modern world directly to the banks of the ancient Nile. The genetic trail you carry inside your cells is the undeniable scientific proof of your Egyptian origin. You are a living, breathing artifact, a biological time capsule sent from the age of the pharaohs. But the legacy your ancient admirers left to the world is more than just a sequence of DNA. It is a cultural echo, a pattern of behavior, a way of seeing that has shaped the relationship between humans and cats for all of time. The reason your cat is sleeping on your bed right now and not living as a solitary hunter in the wilderness is because of the unique partnership forged thousands of years ago on the banks of the Nile. Look at the world you live in now. Cats are a global phenomenon, one of the most beloved companion animals on the planet, and when you examine the way we treat them, you can see the faint, uncanny ghost of ancient Egyptian reverence in almost everything we do. When you spend a small fortune on the highest quality, grain-free, pâté-style cat food, are you not making a modern kind of offering to a household deity? When you build an elaborate climbing tree in your living room, are you not constructing a small domestic temple? And when you fill your phone with hundreds of pictures of your cat sleeping, playing or just sitting in a box? Are you not engaging in the exact same impulse that led an ancient Egyptian noble to have their beloved Nejm painted into their tomb for all eternity? The technology has changed, but the deep-seated need to document and adore our feline companions is identical. This legacy is so powerful that even later beliefs that seem to contradict it are in fact a reaction to it. Consider the superstitions that grew up around cats in medieval Europe. The association of cats, particularly black ones, with witches, demons, and bad luck was a direct inversion of their sacred status in Egypt. As the new Christian worldview sought to erase the old pagan ways, it took the things the pagans held most sacred and recasted them as evil. The cat's mysterious nature, its nocturnal habits, and its connection to powerful goddesses like Bastet and the Norse Freya made it a prime target. The black cat became a symbol of misfortune in the West precisely because it had once been a symbol of divine blessing in Egypt. So why, after all these centuries after the old gods have been forgotten and the old superstitions have largely faded, do we still feel that sense of reverence? Why do we still look at a cat and see something more than just a pet? Psychologists and historians still argue whether our innate attraction to cats is purely a biological response to their neotenic features, the big eyes, the small nose, the round face that reminds us of a human baby, or if there is a deeper cultural echo of the sacred status first bestowed upon them by the Egyptians. When you watch your cat move with that liquid grace and self-possessed dignity, are you responding only to its physical form, or are you sensing the faint, lingering aura of the thousands of years it was considered a god? The truth is, you can't separate the two. The chill life you lead today is a direct inheritance from the chill life your ancestors pioneered. You see the ghost of the guardian of the granaries in the intense focus your cat gives a spider on the wall. You see the pampered temple cat of Bubastis in the way it claims the softest cushion as its throne. You feel the grief that led to shaved eyebrows when you have to say goodbye to a furry friend. The entire template for our relationship was created in Egypt. They were the first to let you in, the first to learn your name, the first to be utterly captivated by your paradoxical nature, and the first to decide that your purr was the sound of peace. They were the first true cat people, and they laid the groundwork for all who would follow. Your cat accepts your devotion with a look of serene entitlement, as if it remembers in some deep cellular way a time when its ancestors were worshipped with temples and prayers. And in the quiet moments of your life together, you almost believe it does too. Word count 1200. And so our long journey down the Nile comes to its gentle end. The story, which began with a wild hunter cautiously approaching a human village, fades back into the soft and hazy distance of time. Feel the vivid images begin to soften at the edges now. The bright sun on the temple walls of Bubastis becoming a warm and distant memory, the chanting of the priests fading into a low and soothing hum that merges with the quiet sounds of your own room. The weight of history with its battles and its gods and its grand monuments can now feel light as a cat's footstep, a silent tread that leaves no trace but a feeling of peace. The millions of sleeping mummies rest in their catacombs, the last prayers have been whispered, and the divine feline, its great work done, has curled up for eternity. Let the stories dissolve into simple, quiet feelings, the warmth of a sunbeam, the softness of fur, the rhythmic, calming vibration of a gentle purr. Let all the details drift away now on the slow, dark river of sleep, leaving behind only a sense of comfort and the quiet companionship of a creature that chose long ago to share our homes and our hearts. There is nothing left to analyze, nothing more to learn, only the easy, restful breathing of a world settling into a deep and profound slumber. Sweet dreams.